This is where we say we have to stop meeting like this.
Yeah. Actually, we had to continue meeting like this.
Ah, there you go. That's a better one. I like that. Yeah. So you're right, Betsy. It is actually our third annual donation day. Thank you. It's our third annual donation day. And you were the very first person to say, yeah, I think that has merit. I think you guys should definitely work here in Unionville. So we're always going to be grateful for that. Because it was really you who said, do it. I think this makes sense. So thank you for that.
Very welcome.
So I'm going to let Brian and Yes talk about the donation day, and then if it's okay after, I'd like to tell you about a few of the updates that are happening in our Habitat for Humanity program.
Great.
Okay?
Yes,
All
sure.
right, good. Jess, should I start? Sure. We do have some flyers, so I wasn't sure how many you needed. I think we should be enough.
Great.
So, hello, everyone. Again, thank you for having us back. We are very excited to kick off our third annual countywide donation day with our busiest location, I must say, at the Unionville Transfer Station. It will be on April 15th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. where we essentially take our Restore mobile. So you can come anytime between those hours and drop off your gently used home goods, furniture items, get in those garages, those basements, those rooms that you just kind of dump everything in. I know I have one.
Things from your driveway too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Now, what would that be?
Okay.
So that would be also our Cars for Homes program.
Ah,
So, and don't let the name fool you. If you have that car that you've been meaning to fix up, or that snowplow that just doesn't run anymore, or that boat that you just no longer need or want to use, Habitat for Humanity International will come and pick it up for you, and your donation will stay here within the county.
oh,
So they have, they contract with their own salvage company, and they will come. It's a 3-step process. You can actually visit our website, habitatduchess.org, and click on Cars for Homes. It's right there on our main page. And it'll simply take you through a 3-step process, and you'll schedule your appointment to get that picked up. So in honor of Earth Day, we like to highlight how our carbon footprint is impacted in this county, and that's through collecting donations that in turn help us build houses. So to talk a little bit more about what items we accept and do not accept that we can resell to help support building houses here in the county, I'm going to turn it over to Brian.
Good evening. So I take all types of furniture and household items. If you go on our website to habitatduchess.org, click on the Restore, and it'll give you a full list of items we accept and do not accept. So that'll be the easiest way for everyone to keep up to date of items we can take. We'll be all throughout Dutchess County at 4 different locations, obviously Union Transfer Station, the Restore, Pleasant Valley Town Hall, and the Dutchess Stadium from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. We'll have trucks out there, volunteers out there, staff members, everything. But the best part is all of our staff and volunteers actually fight hard to be at Unionville.
That's the truth.
wow.
They actually love it to go there, and I love to visit there when we're traveling throughout the county on that day. All of our volunteers having fun there, all everybody donate stuff, they all love it. It's great. I have no idea why.
Oh, it's the transfer station.
I think it's Pete and mine.
It is. Neil a little bit.
There in the Union Transfer Station, and we beg, please everyone come out there and donate to us. We appreciate it.
That's great.
Sure. It really is definitely our most successful location, and also the location that has driven more volunteers. Once they hear about Habitat, they ask how they can get involved. Donations, so actually cash donations, folks have become what we call hope builders, so making regular donations to Habitat to help build our homes, because while Restore does a great job, it isn't all we need. So just kind of a refresher on what Habitat is. You may recall that most of our families are in some type of a service position. They're those essential workers that kept us going during COVID. They might work in our hospitals, they might work in our grocery stores, they might work for a not-for-profit. And they are all making a wage that is not sufficient to be able to live in Dutchess County. And so we have looked at ways that they can actually become homeowners with this limited income. And we do that through providing a twofold and sometimes even threefold mortgage process. So we look at the homeowner's income, and then we take 29% of that gross income and we say, this is what you can afford. And we use 29% because our tax base is pretty hefty here in Dutchess County, and our expenses are a little higher than most of the rest of the country. So we looked at 29%, even though 30% is a standard, and decided that that was a number that would make it more likely for our families to experience success. And so you look at that number, and then we say, okay, well, but it's that, let's just say, this is about an average, what they can afford is $150,000. Now, if you've been on the market lately, you're pretty sure you're not finding anything for $150,000. So then the second thing that we do is put something in there called a soft second. That's our version of gap funding, the difference between what the house actually is worth on the open market or what it costs us to develop it. And then we say, okay, here you go. Then maybe we're up to $300,000. So we then look for other gap fundings. New York State has something called the Affordable Housing Corporation of New York State, and they provide about $30,000 to help offset that soft second. And then sometimes we're really fortunate to be able to get some great down payment assistance for our families through the Sony Nay mortgage product that's been created just for Habitat for Humanity. What you may not know is the single largest barrier to homeownership for families, in particular Black families, is access to credit. And New York State has made that accessible to them through this Sony Nay Habitat product. It is a guaranteed 2% interest rate. Your gas. And it is a little bit, it looks a little bit differently at credit. There are, we are trying to be very, very culturally sensitive to finance models. And as we look at them, we see, that many families of color and many families who have been generationally low income don't actually have the same kind of baseline for their credit score. And so we've been fortunate enough to help to the support of the banking system in New York State to have them look a little bit differently, a little bit more creative at credit, while at the same time always setting them up for success. One of the areas that we're asking our legislators to look at, and please don't panic when I say this to you, is the tax base itself. So we are largely dealing with pieces of property that wouldn't bring taxes in the community. They've either been sitting there or they're not quite meeting the needs of people who want higher end housing. And so by working with the municipalities and with the state government, we are trying to look at a way that Habitat homes could be taxed at the first mortgage rate, the subsidized mortgage. So instead of being taxed at $300,000, it would be taxed during the duration that the mortgage is held for $150,000. And again, it's not a loss of income to the community because it's properties that were not previously taxed. So I know that in this day and age that's a hard pill to swallow, but some of our municipalities have supported that, and we're hoping that even in a home rule state, that there might be some opportunity for the state and the local municipalities to come together and create this model that will allow homeownership for the very people that kept this country running during COVID. So we have a couple of new projects. We're working on a condo project. So condos tend to be smaller, and they usually are 1 and 2 bedrooms, sometimes studio. And we've partnered with a family foundation who would like to see how we might be able to put together home ownership opportunities for people who are at the other end of the spectrum. So you've never owned a home and you're coming to your retirement years. And your income, if you're lucky, is going to be half of what it was, right? But your rent isn't. And so how are you going to stay here? You spent your whole life here, your family's here, how are you going to stay? So if we can use this same model that I just talked to you about in condos with the support of this family foundation, we might be able to make opportunities for single and 2 adult households to move from a higher rental to a more affordable condo that they will actually own. So that's our goal. We have a pilot project out there right now. You may have, been shamefully embarrassed, Betsy, and say, we expect to see you at it because it's a women's bill. But all women are generating, all of their rehab in this house. And we hope that it will be ready by May 31st. But
Wow.
if you'd like to honor, some special woman in your life, I cannot think of a better way than to support this bill. And the other project that we're working on right now that we've had tremendous success with is our Advancing Black Home Ownership Program. And that is really specifically looking at families of color who have never owned homes, and what is it that we can do to make our services more accessible. Because again, as I said, access to credit is certainly the largest barrier, but access to a system that is not one you're comfortable with is the second largest. And so trying to make that system available and comfortable for everyone is one of our biggest goals. So really excited about that. We've given you a few things to look at that might have a little bit more information than we've given you in the past to help you understand that grant, because anybody who is a business person hears me talking. So did I just hear her say that they think that's a good organization because they lose money on every house they build? And yes, that's exactly it. And so that's why the work that we do in development is so incredibly important. I don't know what we would do without Jess's development department and Brian's restore. Those are really the things that keep us from saying.
And they're both excellent,
Yeah.
really
So,
good.
any questions?
No, only because we have such a tight agenda, but I'm gonna ask you, Maureen, if maybe in the next 6 months you'd come back to a board meeting to talk about housing a little bit.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of push from the state about affordable housing. You had some excellent points about how you handle things and why.
Love to.
Maybe
Love
it would be
to.
nice, I think, for a board, conversation
Absolutely.
just about that.
Absolutely love it. So workshop, anything you want, whatever you want, we can.
That'd be
And
excellent.
if you'd like to take a tour of one of our homes, we'd be happy to oblige that. And I should actually also tell you, last year when we came, we said we want to work in Eastern Dutchess. This year, I'm happy to tell you that we have 2 locations in Eastern Dutchess, not in Uniondale yet. We'll get there, I promise. But one property is made available to us by the town of Northeast and the other by the town of Media. So
That's great.
we will be looking for volunteers as well, because it is a volunteer run organization. So keep your eyes and ears open
Yeah.
for people who'd like to swing a hammer for housing.
That's
Very
great. Send us the ads and
We will. And just let us know when you want us to come back. We'd be happy to do it.
Thank you.
So we'll see you when, April
15.
15th.
For
Right.
15,
A
yeah.
lot of stuff. I'm sure everybody
Right,
after
that's
this
right.
long winter will be happy to bring
And
you.
if you have any cars that are going to like in your community, you might want to put one of these on their windshield.
I think our code enforcement officer needs a stack of those.
So give me the whole card for all.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
It'll be a fun day. All right, next up, we have another one of our favorite people and nonprofits, Lori Decker from Angels of Light. Do you want to come up and join us? Sure. Either side. You want to sit on, well, maybe over here.
Okay, it's all right. I get emotional.
You're,
So it's all right.
You're on camera over here.
Oh,
That's
great.
okay.
That's even better. These are beautiful children that we work with. So I always say this, we've been doing this as a family for 15 years, and every time I speak about Angels of Light, I get very emotional because we assist children and moms and dads living in the Hudson Valley with life-threatening illnesses. And in many cases, the children, when mom or dad does, not survive. So we try to do everything that we can to. We started doing holiday giving, and that's how we really came about. There was a little girl who was playing basketball about 15 years ago, and she was going through treatment. So my husband and I, we have 6 children, very healthy, 10 grandchildren now.
Wow.
And yeah. And as a mom, it was in November, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what would be something that maybe we can help this family with? And so I went up to her and I introduced myself, and I said, and I thought, oh, the holidays are coming up, can you please just give me your wish list of all your children? You do the shopping, the wrapping, the delivery. We'll come on Christmas Eve. I said, you won't have to worry about doing anything, so you can spend more quality time with your family. And That was 15 years ago. Then it was 3 families the following year, then it was 5 and 10. And this past holiday season, we gave out over 3,000 gifts to over 101 local families.
Wow.
And to every single family, if you're familiar with Ronald McDonald House, every family that's staying there, we take care of them through, for Hanukkah, Christmas, any holiday, and Maria Ferrera Children's Hospital. And then when COVID hit, a lot of the parents were saying, it's so wonderful that you're doing that. We really appreciate it, but we really need help with medical bills and rent and lodging, gas, food, clothing. And it's like, oh, okay. So I went to the board, unanimous. And so as of 2005 year, we are now assisting families with all those needs. Since January 1 of this year, we've already given almost $17,000 to local families. And one of the things that I have been witnessing, and I've been for all these years, is if there is a child going through treatment, the only infusion place that they could go now is up in Boston Children's Hospital or down in Westchester. And Mid-Hudson Regional Hospital now just put in 10 units, 10 new rooms for children, pediatrics, and they want to put in an infusion room. I said, oh my goodness, that would be such a beautiful thing if we could help them, sponsor that for them. And at the end of January, that dream came true. And so now children can locally come right here to Mid-Hudson Regional Hospital, and they don't have to do all that traveling. In many cases, they don't even own a car. So the transportation, and this is your child's life, you can imagine how difficult that would be to drive 3 hours up, spend 5 hours for treatment, come drive back down to 3 hours, and the lodging is very expensive. We probably paid about just yesterday alone, I had to give $2,000 to a family so they could stay there for, 2 weeks. And so in order to help keep funding this, one of the events that we're having, and thank you so much to you, Univale, you've been amazing, is we're having a walk run. And it's going to be on April 22nd, right here. Yeah. And so we're having a kids run as well, and the kids can run for free, and brings a lot of awareness, and also a lot of children are volunteer for this, which is wonderful. And we have a 2 mile, which is the first time. We never really had a walk before, but this way everyone can do it. Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah, we even have a young boy coming in his wheelchair, and so two boys in the wheelchair. And so we are hoping right now we only have 5 people registered for the 5K. And so we're trying to get the word out there, and we have some events there. And it's not till, the 22nd, we still have some time, and, then the snowstorm hit. So now everyone who was motivated to go out, now it's like, so we're praying that we're going to I'm hoping for at least 100 people, and 100% of the money that we raise is going right here, to the hospital for the ward. One of the other things that we do is we have Angels of Light bags, and in each one of the bags, it's for each child that's staying there in the hospital, and it has age appropriate, either books, puzzles, pajamas, sippy cups, pacifiers, whatever, we think that might, something that will keep them, kind of not thinking about where they are, being a little bit of, happiness and joy. And then when they're going through treatment in the infusion room, especially, the older kids is, again, the puzzles and more of the electronic games. And so we're funding that for them as well. So it's been an amazing journey. We also have another big event that we do every year in June. That's in Millbrook. But if you get a chance, you could please go on our website and just get an idea and see what we do. And then if you'd like any brochures about us, there it is right here. And most important thing is more awareness, because you never know that you might meet that mom or a dad or a child with an illness, or they could have been in an accident, or a loss of life. And the stories are just,
right when I thought I heard it all, there's always something else, and I never knew what was happening in our own backyard until we got involved in this, and it is just unbelievable, but. So anyway, so that's who we are, that's what we do, and I'm hoping that you guys can come out and walk. I know Mike will be there.
I'm gonna walk.
Well, we appreciate you being here. It's a fabulous thing what you and your husband have done for 15 years, starting from scratch.
Yeah,
So it's in your local family and everybody, you know, now a lot more people know you than I'm sure 15 years ago, but
yeah.
congratulations.
Oh,
Thank you for everything you do.
Thank
But if
you.
you leave those, I'm sure some people will want some brochures.
Okay.
If you don't mind leaving them, and then we'll put the poster up.
Okay,
So, and then I think it's probably gonna be on our website. Did you guys?
I'll send you the info.
Yeah, and our recreation people will want
Oh,
to send it
right.
out.
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
Lori, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, okay. And I forgot to say
April
also,
22nd. Okay.
You can also form a team, if you'd like in honor and memory of someone, and if you can't come, but you'd like to support, we also have in memory of and in honor of signs that we're gonna have made all along, you know, the walkway. So,
Great.
and we have water stations that you can sponsor and also the finish line.
That's great.
So that's.
All right, Lori, thank you.
Oh, no,
Let's get it
thank
done.
you. We're gonna stand too, is that good?
That's perfect.
And
Thanks.
I'll leave these brochures if anyone would like them.
Yeah, we'll be able, and then we'll, I'm sure our town clerk, Andrea Casey, would want some of those. She'll take care of them. Because when people come in. Oh, thank you.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Lori.
Wonderful.
Great to see you. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you April 22nd.
Yes,
All right, wonderful.
thank you.
All right, next up, we have our third presentation for tonight, and tonight's presentation by local residents, parents and residents of mostly the Burbank, I think all the Burbank community, right? Everybody's from Burbank. Great. And most of you, a lot of you are on the green or on Burbank Club or on North Club, all around there. So we're so glad to have you. Now, you're gonna come up and you're gonna present the Godfrey, the playground design. And we'll put the picture up here. And I wanted to tell you, Melissa, there's a pointer in front of that window if you want to show certain things on the picture while they're up there.
Wow, you really put me on the spot.
Yeah.
You really put me on the
Yeah,
spot.
this is our playground and I'm not a cook and I'm. So since it's so ugly, you see.
That's cute.
This is tree. See it swing. And oh, Nicole, what's that coconut? Oh, so let's stand. Stand.
I'll let the board try.
Yeah. Who's the taster?
Good evening, all. Thank you for having us. As you know, we are coming to discuss with you the possibility of putting in a new playground at the Godfrey Park. We started this process by applying for our grant. The grant took quite a few weeks, right, Betsy?
Yes.
We were starting to get very nervous. We hadn't heard anything, and then Betsy was able to give us the good news that we acquired the grant and the playground done. The playground has been there for many, many years. Many of the people behind me have grown children that grew up in that playground, that use that playground, that love that thing. Well, it is time for the children, younger ones, their grandchildren, and some of us who still have small children to have a new playground, let them use it, let them enjoy it. So we were able to get the grant. In August, we all got together, surrounding roads, North Clove, Burbank Club, on the green. We all got together at the park and we had a huge, just a meeting. Just to say, okay, what does everybody want? What do we want to see change? How do we want to see it grow? How do we want to see it where it is going to serve our community? From all ages to even people with disabilities. This is what we want for Godfrey Park. So we came together, we had a great day, we served some drinks, we all enjoyed each other's company, did a lot of brainstorming. The one thing, we had all the children there, and all they wanted was a really, really, really big slide.
Yeah.
So that started this process.
Mhm.
The group behind me has been absolutely amazing. We started with 4 different state approvals. We sent into them what we were looking for, just an idea. This is our wish list. We went through Architect, Little Tykes, Young Equipment, and Miracle Neighborhood Build. They all sent us back different ideas, different layouts. In the end, we went with Miracle. They were most flexible. They were able to work with us to add and delete as we saw fit. They gave us more choices to work within our budget.
They were also the only one that would allow us to do a community build.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, that's important. Good.
Yeah.
We were getting there, Ed.
Okay. It was just sounded like it should have been right there.
Once the designs were in, we all did need to review them. As I said, we went with Miracle, and if you'll just take a look at the screen. The screen will show you what we finally decided on. We decided on a playground build that, as I said, takes care of the whole community, takes care of little ones, takes care of older ones, takes care of the special needs. We have a merry-go-round, we have a really big slide. We have some shade for the parents to sit and relax and enjoy their children on a brand new playground. We have a swing set. We have rope climbers, you name it, we have it in this build.
Melissa, talk about the 4 different kinds of swings. Sorry.
I love this group, I gotta tell you, I love this group.
You won't be lost for words with it.
No, not at all. We do have 4 different types of swings. We have 2 of the standard swings that we're all used to seeing. We have a child swing and we do have a special needs swing, all included in the swing set. The representatives, as I said, they were willing to work with us. We went right down to the ground cover. Ground cover for the playgrounds is a very interesting topic. There are so many different varieties and different things you can do. One of our main concerns is the ground cover we have at Godfrey Park now is sand. And in the summertime, that attracts sand bees.
Oh, yeah, for years.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Yes, and it was at the point where even somebody having younger children, we couldn't take our kids down there because the sand bees were just so annoying.
Mhm.
And they scare them, the kids are
Sure.
screaming, and so that's where it started, where we had to get rid of the sand bees. And as we also know that, you have sand around, what is it gonna attract? Every neighborhood cat in the neighborhood. And ones
Kevin
from
knew that.
5 neighborhoods over are gonna come to the sandbox. It's a big sandbox. So one of the things that we decided on for the ground cover, and I'm gonna pass some of this stuff around. This is a processed wood chip. Looks like regular wood chips, only it's a bit softer. It's very popular on playgrounds. It is less likely to splinter. And it's less likely to attract the bugs and stuff that we get with our regular wood chips. Pass forward down.
Has it got any kind of chemical in it to hurt insects? I'm just curious.
Not that I'm,
No,
yeah,
no
not that we're aware
Oh,
of, it didn't
good.
say, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
No. That was one of the things we wanted to know.
yeah, no, that's important. Yeah.
yeah, it is important.
Now this won't break down at the time?
It takes a very, very long time. I forget, do you remember what he said, guys, about how long does it take for that to?
I think it was 5 years was the guarantee, and he says he's got playgrounds with it in there over 10 years.
Good.
Then you replace it.
I cannot stress enough what a community effort this was. I cannot stress enough the amount of time that the people behind me and some that were not able to make it tonight have put into getting this playground and designing it and just making it a beautiful place for the community. The dedication is above and beyond. I'd like to thank Betsy for the time she put in with us to do this. And I'd like to thank you because you were on the computer endlessly to do this. As I said, we went with Miracle. So do we have our gentleman from Miracle?
I don't know if Rob's on or not.
Is
Rob,
on?
Rob could be muted. If you unmute yourself, Rob, and say hi. If you're not on, it's a technical issue, probably our fault. I don't hear them, but it could be.
And besides the community build, we also have, community members that have, pledged to, help with the demolition.
Yes, we do have, Willie Murphy, who has volunteered his time to come and do the demolition.
Mhm.
That was a huge help as far as cost was concerned. In addition to that, Miracle does allow us to do a community build. Normally, to build the playground, it's, the money is just unreal.
If 25% of the total cost would be what the building cost
Installation.
was.
Right. And by doing a community build, we almost diminish that. It's almost nothing. They bring their people in, they supervise us, they inspect everything, and it saves us a lot of money on the build, and it's a good way to bring the community together.
So I will add, Melissa, so when this order goes in,
Mhm.
the last time we spoke with Rob, he was saying that he didn't think it would be here before August,
Right.
but you never know.
Right.
So we'll be optimistic, but so we'll try to time it before then, the demolition takes place, but also we have our highway superintendent, Ed Kading,
Mhm.
and our parks manager, Jake Gosnell, and some of their people will probably come. So the demolition will be by professionals, but some of them are our professionals.
Yes.
So, which is a wonderful thing that Willie's donating, and our group of experts is gonna help.
Yes.
And then with the build, same people want to be there to help with the build. So if any of you get distracted and you get busy, then while
Right.
you're standing there chatting or something, they'll keep going. So it should be a wonderful, that community build should be another wonderful experience.
And I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
I can't wait for this to come. to
Lenny
fruition.
will be there.
Yes, yes. Unfortunately, Lenny is home sleeping because with the snow, he had been working for the past few days, so he's home snoozing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blame him.
Yeah.
Save his energy for the bills.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I just also want to point out with Miracle, one of the bigger reasons that we went with Miracle was, as Melissa pointed out, their willingness to work with us. He actually came here and met with us and went through the design, because we had a lot of concerns about what were the popular items with the children, based on the age ranges of 2 to 5, 5 to 12. What were the safety features that we should expect from them? Because we were concerned, like if you look at the little merry-go-round there, we all talked about, being younger and putting our friends on it and shooting them off. And, oh, remember when so-and-so broke his arm? It's funny when you're a kid, but as an adult, you're like, no, that's not happening. And, and it was wonderful to work with this company, because he really highlighted something as little, but not so little as the feature in there that makes sure that it doesn't go too fast, so that the kids can't shoot each other off. That it's not, it's got. I mean, so those were the things that, I'm not saying the other companies didn't have this, but that Miracle was the total package. And I think the thing that really just put it over the top was when we came back and said, okay, you've got everything that you want, here's our budget, here's everything that we like, and we just a little bit too high for us. And he said, I'm going to absorb some more costs. I'm going to absorb more of the cost of installing this for you.
Wow.
Because he was just so committed to, and I wish he was on the phone to talk about it, just so committed to everything that we had been working in. And that's a testament to all the people that have been coming to all of these meetings and really have been so dedicated, to making sure that this project that we presented to you was the best project that we could offer you. So I hope you take that into consideration.
The other company that got down to the final cut, when we asked them about community build, said, no way,
No way.
not allowed.
Wasn't even a consideration.
That was young equipment.
Yeah.
And so when we tried to cut things out, because we did cut things out, to try to do it, he would say, don't cut that because that's really popular. That's one of the things that the children like to do is on as much, like the monkey bars or the ice cream. There's a net climber. I mean, so there's a lot of equipment to get out a lot of energy. So I think most will have children and say, oh yeah, I'd like that. Yeah. Get out some of that energy. And so, and he separated it out for us. We have the 5-year-old, 12-year-old, and the 2 to 5-year-old area. So like Ann said, there was a lot of work to try to figure out what we could do with the money we had been provided for the grant. And
Because as you see in the picture, the front pieces of equipment are for the younger children and the back is for the older. Not saying the younger children will stay away from the older kid stuff, but.
And then we also, you know, just so you know, you can see our faces again, because we've left room for growth.
Yes.
Exactly, we will be back.
You get reelected, you're gonna. We're good with that, we're comfortable, we eliminated some of the equipment that didn't need to be there right away. And we could see how the playground plays out, and then we did allow for, if you've ever been to Godfrey Park, the basketball court is very popular, and that's staying. The volleyball court was not popular, so the decision was that we would utilize that part of the
Space.
playground, you know, in a different capacity, but the basketball court is going to stay there, and there'll be enough space around it so that the children can be playing and the basketball court can be utilized.
So when Jake and I were with you at the very first meeting last summer, and I think Nicole, it was your daughter, did you tell them about the wish list? And did you tell the board, because I had to step in the back for a minute, about the great big slide and all that stuff?
Yes.
You guys, did you feel like you've hit all the things that your community asked for in that wish list, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
There you go, then you've done a
And
great
like Ann
job.
said, with
Good.
room to expand.
That's great.
Yeah. Plan for the
So-
future.
What I think we could probably do now is take a look at, for the board members to take a look at the quote.
Mhm.
And I think if somebody would help me, I'd like to make a motion that we take the voting portion from the end of the meeting and just do it now, so these folks can hear what we're thinking. So I'd like to move that we move that section up at this point. Would anybody second that for me?
I'll second that.
Okay.
We'll lift it up.
That would be great. So everybody, if you look at your, you look at, if the proposal as it is, there is a little, it looks like a little bit over budget, but there was a little bit of extra money put in there because we weren't sure of the costs and stuff that the board had discussed. We didn't approve anything last summer because we didn't know what all this was going to cost. We were waiting for you to come and tell us. So there is enough room in what we had earmarked for this number that they've gotten it down to, which is a good job. So I can make a motion to approve the Miracle Playground design and quotes for Godfrey Park as part of our reimbursable MIG grant received by Dutchess County last summer, just for this purpose. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councilman Derlin. Is there any discussion or anything that anybody questions?
I'm glad we're moving ahead with this.
Yeah.
All
A
right,
lot
well,
of people happy.
yeah, it would be, it's gonna be a popular spot now.
Yeah.
Open arms are all.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? No, motion carries. You are. All right,
Thank you very much.
wonderful job. We're gonna
Thank
keep
you.
your pictures, okay?
Pictures. Oh, you guys can keep that. You see it's memento.
Wonderful job. Thank
Thank you
you.
for your time, everybody.
Yeah, we will, yes.
Yeah.
The board will be there for your ribbon cutting.
Come and join us, we're part.
Now, I think we should all just stand up for a minute so everybody knows who you are that have been working on the committee. Sharon, Ann, will you introduce everybody? Well, that we know Holly, we know Ed, we know Ann. Sharon, introduce yourself. Everybody knows Sharon. Melissa, go ahead.
Melissa on the green.
Diane.
Diane Cooper Drive.
Nicole on the green. Oh, she's got this little girl.
Look, Mike.
Mike Myers, I'm the green.
Mother Myers on the green.
Thank you all for doing such a fabulous job.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Right.
Not excited about Sunday.
Well, maybe not another time. You're not on the agenda.
Yeah.
All right, nice job. Thank you, guys. Wonderful work.
Everybody.
Good to see you.
Thank
All right. We just need to make sure that we take this picture down. And I'm not, we're gonna, just give us a second for technology, please.
Yep.
What do you think, Andrea? Can you do that?
You can just face it this way again.
No, I don't need to have it on, I don't think. I think if you, can you get that one back on?
I just don't know.
We had it on. You had it before.
But it was.
Oh,
Yeah, so if you just
Okay.
access the computer, then YouTube can see everybody.
It will be.
Imagine if it was an adult program.
Yeah, right.
they do want to teach them on
You good? Then I'll go.
it. They're putting that in their,
Yeah.
all right, I'm not sure how we're doing this, but anyway.
You're doing
Great.
great.
Okay.
We need to take a look, sorry. We have somebody who's not here on it.
I'm just gonna leave this.
It's just me, Andrea. You're doing great.
What is it, what? No, it's beautiful. I just want to make sure we're leaving it behind. I mean, did you? All right, well, we appreciate it.
I'm gonna stick around for the meeting anyway.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, so next up, town supervisors report. Let me go through a few things. First, I wanted to say, we all attended the Dutchess County St. Patrick's Day Parade, and we were formally invited to come and walk in. And that was a wonderful experience because it was so many people. It was the biggest parade, I think, other than the St. Patrick's in New York City I've ever seen. Went on forever and people were having a wonderful time. So I wanted to thank the supervisor over in Wappinger, Dick Thurston, for inviting us. That was terrific. Also want to thank the highway department for the 24 hours and then 12 hours and then 23 hours. I mean, they've had an incredible number of hours doing the work that they've been doing since last week.
I was out a lot of the night and
You
the
saw
town roads were the best,
Town roads were the best. Good.
better than the county, I must say.
That's great. And then,
Significantly
and
better.
then we have our parks team, Jake Bassett, and they did the town hall and we
Yeah,
did the
and
fire station.
fire station, yeah, very nice.
The
job.
recycling center. We have an awesome team all the way around.
Yeah.
So thank you all for all the hard work.
It was like
Everybody else.
business style.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Let me go through my financial report. I'm not going to go through the whole thing because we've been through it. Let me get to the right place. All right, so there's a couple things. And I'm just going to go through the cash balances currently in the general fund because we have some tax revenue. 4,859,739, 1,162,195 in the highway fund. So currently we have cash of 6,021,933. Now, I wanted to mention to you all that our investments are with New York Class, and New York Class is a company that only can, there's a slim number of things that the state permits towns to invest in, which is actually a very smart thing. But because of the Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank going under and all this talk about it, I wanted to make sure because they were in treasuries, but they were in a lot of long-term treasuries. And they let it sit for 6 months with SVD. They didn't manage that portfolio at all. And I don't understand what happened there, but it was like when interest rates go down, you can't do that. You have to manage, especially if you have long-term. Now, the thing with New York Class, and I want to make sure everybody understands, is they are only investing in treasury. They're no longer than 60 days. So we're in short-term treasuries. So we're not going to have that yield curve problem or change in interest rate problem that you would have if you're out for 30 years or 20 years or 10 years. So we've been very successful. I mean, we last year really lowered the amount of money we were going to make in interest because we had gotten burnt the year before, not by much, but we remember the interest rates started tanking and we had a pretty decent number for in the budget. And anyway, last year we lowered it considerably. We've always made more than the budget, but last year we lowered it considerably. We wanted to be over cautious. And we lowered it down to I think it was 24,000. I haven't looked in 2 weeks. And we made $60,000 in interest last year. So in this year, we've got $26,000 in the budget. I haven't checked February yet because I've been tied up, but in January, we made 13. So in interest only. So we're already going to be ahead of the game with our interest. But I think the important thing for everybody to rest assured of and know is that the short duration of the treasuries that these people invest in keeps us in a way that far away from interest rate risk. So I just want to make sure that's clear, given what's going on right now. The tax collection is up to 86%, which is a very high number, which is a great number. I've got a few other things to go over with you that's good news. And that is, we did get our check from the solar company. I mean, Central Hudson is killing us on one side, but on the other side, we did get, and we get a nice check from the solar company. We got a check $41,303.
Oh, good.
And what we get for that we have a $30,000 interest rate, and we put into our contract that we wanted a 2% increase every year. And so that was it's 30,753. And then we got our annual pilot amount, which is the payment in lieu of taxes, 10,400. So we actually make a little over $41,000 from our solar development. So it's been a really good thing. And I do want to remind you guys, remember when we were negotiating, they said they were never doing that for anybody else again, that they felt like they gave us up too much, but we're, obviously we're happy with it. We like it. The next thing I want to make sure you are aware of is from Altice and Optimum, we did get our PEG grant, which is that public educational community grant, which is $17,000, which is high considering some of the other towns, what they got.
Yeah.
So we went back and checked the record 10 years ago. I think they said they were paying 10, but somehow it was only 7 in the contract and the town only got 7 because we checked all the records. So to get 17 this time is really good. We may want to fix the tech, without our our young woman, Nicole, who was helping us as a media expert, you can see we're stumbling a little bit, but we have the technology here and what we can use it for is to enhance anything that we haven't done. So the money's in, which is really great. Let's see, we've set up all the audits. I wanted the board to know. So all the cash audits, I don't know if I CC'd you on that email or not, I may have, that all the departments have to submit by next week. I've gotten a couple already, but they'll submit all their information for last year, their bank statements and everything. And then we have Ted Eglett, who's our CPA, will go through and he audits. So the audit process has begun for 2022. The annual update document, which is the supervisor's books, as they call them, have to be completely a full audit. So we're getting in, Danielle, our bookkeeper just got back. She's been here the second day. Thank goodness. So Danielle is back and we're starting to wrap up. We didn't wrap up yet 2022 because there were some things that we have to make sure in the right year. And then we're going to start closing all the books up and we'll have a really good year report for 2022 at the next board meeting as we're getting ready for the annual update document, which has to be in on May 1st. Okay, so we're making progress on the audit front and doing the following last year's schedule. Now, the other thing, I've got quick topics. I know Councilman Gusikoff and I went to the Association of Towns meeting. And it was tons and tons of meetings. You've been there forever. You've been there. No, you were there as planning board chair for a lot, but there were tons and tons of meetings. And I have a lot of information to share with you guys. So I will let you take whatever you want to go home. And this is all I could fit in that briefcase they gave. Perry has some too. But the good thing is that this year they have a QR code you can download, and if you want some of those seminars that we went to and the PowerPoint presentations are going to be right
Download
on.
right onto your computer.
Yeah, but I thought to make it easy for you, then because the QR code, I don't know how long that will be up there. We'll just download them all, put them where you can look at them, and you can pick the one you want to look through. Because some of those classes were great. Didn't you think, Perry? We went to a couple together at the same time, and then we ended up doing.
We split up. I mean, the classes are pretty enlightening. They just teach you about a lot of different things that are going on to help out the whole board process and running the towns. I mean, things that you wouldn't ordinarily even think about, or new laws that are coming through. And
Yeah.
A really nice thing that I think that we all appreciated was when they stopped the morning down with their morning speeches and stuff. We had Jerry Geist was the
President.
He's the president or the executive of the Association of Towns. And he got a round of applause for kind of displaying what the governor is trying to implement on all the towns in New York about affordable housing. And I know we've been against it because it really takes away the powers of the towns themselves. Yeah, we have all codes and zoning and things in place that overrides that. So there's like a fast tracking process that you want to
Without
do
seeker.
without a lot. So it's something that as our town, we just went through this whole zoning change.
Yeah, we just.
It would totally override that. And it was nice that everybody from each side of the aisle, they were totally against it. So
Good.
it's a good place besides all the other great classes that were
And
out
our,
there.
and our insurance company's there, our workers' comp company was there. I mean,
Yeah.
all the booths and all the people are fabulous, but we
Yeah.
did talk to the workers' comp. I told the president because we had an incident here where one of our guys, he cut his hand. We didn't know how bad it was, but we told him to run over to the emergency place closest and they wouldn't take him there because it was workers' comp. He ended up having to go all the way to Vassar and it was fine. By the time they washed it off, it was a Band-Aid thing, but when it's bleeding heavily, you're not really sure.
Right.
It was fine. And I had to tell the president of the workers' comp company, I said, and he said, that is not supposed to happen. And I said, well, they said they were allowed to turn him away and they
That
did.
place is in business now, by the way.
Oh, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, see,
It's closed.
well, maybe, yeah, it's just
Really?
on a lot of levels. It's really
Yeah.
a wonderful conference, you know. So anyway, we'll send some more, and oh, I should say, on the last day, these are kind of cool, learn about water conservation for kids, coloring books and stuff. I mean, they a million tables with all kinds of stuff. I was gonna give that to the CAC, I thought.
You like
Any-
the color?
No, it's like kids. I'll save that for you, John.
He's
The,
on the jungle.
yeah, the last day, to Perry's point, to Councilman Gusikoff's point, they had a legislative agenda. And it was completely unanimous. They voted down the governor's budget that would require any encroachment on local government.
Good.
And there were about 5 different resolutions. They all passed and they were all anti taking local government control away and how New York State was built on that. So that was a really in the
Yeah.
and they submitted it and we'll see what happens. Anyway, it was a great thing and I've got tons of material, anything you're interested in. All right, and then next up, the Justice Court. I think I told you we're gonna have a round table about the Tom DiNapoli's office. We had a conference call with them and they're interested in trying to find out from us, because they haven't looked at the numbers for so many years, getting a round table together so that we can try to figure out a way. They want to help us. They want to sit in. And then Sue Serena is going to join us because he even recommended her.
Oh,
He said,
really?
you have a former senator who knows how this process works.
Sure.
Because they decided it's got to be a legislative process to change the dollar amounts. So that we're not giving up everything that we collect in the court, which is why we're in the red all the time. But to the conversations that we're having tonight, Elliot Auerbach, who's the deputy comptroller, said that one of the first things that towns never do, that he's going to ask that we do, is go back and look. Now, tonight we're talking about littering and things like that. But he said, you need to go back and your town board has to review the whole litany of fines or things that are issued in the court, because he goes, I've looked at them many times and they're still $10. Towns haven't raised them. The state raises them every few years. And the towns, the portion that they're allowed to get, they never touch them. He said, so you may want to
So we
review
have
those.
business.
So tonight we're doing a different section, but that'll be coming.
Okay.
All right. The other thing, there's a land use leadership alliance training program, and I sent that they asked me to invite like planning and zoning. I've sent those invites out. We'll see if Dennis Dunning, because Jane can't go, and Pat Carlemy can go, and I'll fill you. Oh, and Josh from CAC, and I'll go. I mean, anyway. We'll tell you about it later. I don't know that much about it now, but it's trying to help us. It's all land use, so it's something that's important. More details to come, but I don't want to waste the time. And the last thing I did want to say is our franchise renewal agreement with Optimum. But it came back. It was delayed because it had to be approved by the Public Service Commission, and they were behind. So our 10-year date is not the date of the signed contract. The 10-year date is January 24th, 3033. So you have a contract. Put that on your calendar because you'll be here. Okay. And so 6 months before, a year before, just everybody start talking about it. Okay. All right. So that's, I think, enough because we're a little bit behind. Next up, I'd like to invite the board members to Councilman Welch. We'll go this way.
All right.
Report on.
Working with our legal people regarding annexation.
Oh, I did want to give you an update on the cell towers.
Sure.
You want me to?
I want you to.
Oh, okay.
You know more than me.
I forgot to mention, I'm sorry, yesterday, or Monday rather, the oral arguments were held down in Brooklyn for the cell tower appeal case of Beekman versus the town board of the town of Unionville. So all we know is that the arguments were held. We've been waiting. In May, it will be 3 years. So that's how long, because of COVID, they're behind. But it sounds like it went really well. You never know, but you know, anyway, at least those oral arguments were held and we'll find out a little, you know, hopefully not too long, what they've decided. So, and I'm not sure that there's any more,
Will there be any more oral arguments or is
With
that?
that, it's over, right?
well, I was talking to Jim Nelson, who obviously was down there and was, in his opinion, he doesn't think there is another court you can go to, but it's usually, and Jeff can help us here, if there's a constitutional issue involved with your appeal. And I mean, it was a simple, we won the first case and then they appealed it and we've
Right.
just been waiting for it to be heard. So it's pretty straightforward stuff. I don't think there'd be very many avenues after that kind of appeal. Do you think, Jeff?
I don't think there'd be any more oral argument on this one, and there is something called the Court of Appeals that you could appeal to, but that would be very rare, so I think it's the decision from this appellate division.
Well, good.
So,
Great.
all right, and we've been working on that a lot, John, so thank you.
Mhm.
What else did you want to report on before we?
That's about it.
Yeah.
Stuff for tonight,
Yeah, which is a lot.
correspondence, yeah.
All right, great. Councilman Sterling,
I think I'm good right now.
you've done enough reading.
I've done enough, yeah.
Councilman McGivney.
I'd like to commend the highway department and Ed and his guys up there and Jake, as you said before, with this past snowstorm, it was a long duration. Wet, heavy snow, a lot of trees down, a lot of power outages. As of tonight on my way down to the meeting here, looks like Central Hudson's saying everyone's back on in Unionville. Mine just came back on at 4:30 this afternoon. So hopefully everyone's power is back on again.
Yeah,
And that's all I got.
yeah.
I
What's
beat you
it?
by 1 hour.
Oh, you did? All right, Councilman Gusakov.
Nothing else to report. Yes, definitely exactly what Councilman McGivney said. It was a long duration of snow, and I know they worked really hard, and I know what was said earlier. I think our town roads were better than the county roads for sure. So that's something to be said for.
Yeah, and I see that on most storms, always better.
It's a pattern they've established, which is
Yeah.
nice.
You could see a direct difference.
Yeah,
That's fantastic. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm trying to find Ed Kading's email to us today. The highway superintendent was up over 24 hours doing the storm, so he asked not to come to the meeting tonight. He's getting some sleep. But he
Okay.
did send in a report and I have to go all the way back through here to find it. Mostly he wanted to thank the gentleman that worked for him for the hard work that they did. And he also, let's see it. What was interesting, when I went over to meet with him this morning at the highway department, I got a good picture of the guy. They were out there hosing off all of our big investments, getting all the salt off, cleaning every truck up,
Yeah.
the wheels and everything, and out there maintaining them. I got a good picture that we'll put on the, God, I get so many emails. I'm sorry, it's way far down, but I think the biggest message of his was that it was hard work and a lot of hours on all the staff. They did it. He felt like they did a really good job. He only had one person call him about ice being on the road. And so he said that was it. I didn't get any complaints. So I think everybody is, yeah, I don't see it on here. Sorry. Okay,
I see the new old Oshkosh.
Just out there,
yeah.
The storm looks
yeah,
good.
looks good. right?
yeah, it looks very good.
It looks new.
With the new salt
Yeah.
spreader, yeah.
And they're keeping it so clean afterwards
Mhm.
that, yeah, that'll be a good investment. All right, I apologize about the highway superintendent report, but I don't think anything, you guys read the email. I think it was mostly just thanking his guys.
Yeah,
Yeah, all right, so we can circle back. Is there a town clerk report?
There is one that's small. We are scheduling our shredding day very soon, so just stay tuned for the dates posted on the website. We're hoping for July sometime in the summer, so we can get organized. And we are sure to bring out our stuff. That's all right.
No. Great, that's great. So let us know. That's wonderful. All right, any public comments on agenda items? Okay, so next up would be our Unionville Library trustees, our president, Amy Watkins. You want to come up and join us, Amy? Pass out. Everybody that speaks gets some of that playground.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so just updates.
The trustees have been meeting twice a month and we have been very busy. We have done 2 trainings with Rebecca from Manhattan Library System. And she's pleased with the progress that we've made. We've recently, I don't know if you saw in the Unionville Mail, but we posted for the library coordinator position that went out this week. So, or last Friday, I guess, but we're meeting for some applicants. So hopefully someone that's watching tonight will be like, and apply. So we encourage all of anyone who has any prior experience or would like to have future experience to consider it. It's always worth good conversation. So we hope that you will apply. We have some really great plans for the library. In addition, as I mentioned, we're working on the charter application. I think the last time I had laryngitis, but I gave you the bylaws that we had worked on.
Yes.
And since the bylaws, we're working now on the charter application, which is required by New York State. And Betsy and I have worked on that. And that was also discussed during our training. We've established, there's some pieces that are very, I'm going to use easy, like picking your hours. So, we had good conversation compared to the libraries in the area to see, but we also understand that we can, shift and make changes as we see what our community needs. So that's great. And I feel that we did get some great advice, which I will be following up with you. There's 3 really steps. So provisional is the first step, and that's the one that we're really targeting right now to get our provisional charter application approved by New York State with the coordinator in tandem. And to do that, you do have to have a collection of books. And while we have a great collection of donations, there is something that I wanted to pursue further called an opening day collection to see how we could start with that recommendation. So we get off the ground, right? So it doesn't have to be our permanent collection or,
we have a solution for you. Yes.
Yeah. So I feel that opening day collection, while a full opening day collection would be very expensive, I would like to work with someone and maybe,
Is there a number associated with that? Like how many books?
It's dependent upon your size and your town and your space too. So I think that
They'll tell you that?
Well, right. I need to get the name of someone to have those conversations. So that's really what I want to target next. We as a trustee board want to target next, that opening day collection. Because I feel after our conversation, much of what we have available because of where our library is going to be is based on the space that we have, and it's temporary space right now. So that's why a smaller opening day collection makes sense. And also knowing, as the town already knows, that you already have collections through other agencies, and I had written it down, but
Baker Taylor, people.
Baker Taylor, say the wrong thing, but we have things that are already established for everybody to be utilizing as resources. So I think the combination of the 2 would get us started. And, I think our next big hurdle, once we hire someone, get that charter provisional, is like storage display of those books. So good, looking through that furniture budget, and do we buy just a few of the stacks that we would want eventually, or do we have temporary staff that we.
So we should probably have a workshop or something about it.
That would be great.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good opportunity for us to continue conversations we've had as the trustees to meet with the fundraising committee. So I think it would be a good
tie it all in
to circle back with them as well.
So just real quick, we have an agreement with Baker Taylor to lease as many books as we want. And one of the reasons we did that, because we don't use it very much, it just rolls over every year.
Okay.
So it's a very financially smart thing, but that's the largest company. They do all the military bases around the world.
Right.
And so if there's an opportunity to lease something and then have the books that you want for a provisional charter, and then they can be rolled in and out.
Amazing.
So, but I did get an email today. There was, which we can talk over. A woman asked about that library coordinator. And so I wanted to make sure people understood that we have Laura Sumner, who's been acting as a library coordinator. So she's been doing that anyway. So when this new person comes in, this person ideally would have a future.
Yes.
Could become the head of the library or whatever. That person could have a future. It just takes off. Laura's not going to be doing it anymore.
Yeah.
So it's something that we have been funding and that we have had.
Yes.
So it'll be different. It'll be a different, we've been funding it with somebody who hasn't had a huge client base. So it'll be different when this person's focused on.
And I think that because we don't have the four walls of a library too, that role is gonna grow into, a library.
Yeah.
A true library manager, director position, and that's why we're hoping that we would want to hire once and let this be the role that grows into, but right now, just because we don't have our permanent charter, it would be considered a coordinator, so while it sounds.
Oh, yes,
like
yes.
a position, it's definitely going to be,
There's a future there. Great.
much depth to it.
Good idea.
So, yeah, so we're hopeful.
That's
We're
great.
excited. I
You guys
think,
have been working hard.
I'm really proud of all the people that are on the board, and they are working very hard, and we do have really great conversations, and happy about the mission statement, so we'll be sharing that with you.
You could, bring back
Yeah,
maybe
I
next
mean,
month. You can
if
share
you
it.
want, I know you guys are running late, but I can read it to you. We try to keep it concise because that is, otherwise no one's gonna read it, so. All of my papers right in order, and then for some reason I switched them around, so if you ask me a question, I would be ready. So their mission statement is to provide a gathering place for our community in the heart of Unionville's Time Warner Park, where residents can enjoy free access to information, tools for learning, resources, programs, equipment, and services in a comfortable place that makes them feel welcome and fosters a sense of belonging. So
That's what a lot of people said they wanted during the
Yeah,
community.
very
if you really wanted to hone in on those meetings, I mean, many of us, if not all of us on the board had attended the meetings, and I feel like we all had different things that we heard.
Yeah,
And I think it really reflects that it's more than just books. And we
Sure.
wanted
Yeah,
to
very nice.
capture that in the mission statement.
and you've got a lot of ideas rolling, so that's good.
Yeah,
All right.
fun stuff. So I think we're having a really great start.
Well, thank you so much, and thanks for your waiting.
Absolutely.
We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yes.
And, please take a brochure.
So yeah, and if you have any other questions, please don't.
And you have a new email, trustees at
I've been checking it.
uvlibrary.org.
Library.org.
So if anybody wants to email them,
Yes, we
Very good.
have a very email address now. It's very important.
Yeah.
So we'll check that. So absolutely.
great. Well,
All
thank
right.
you so
Thanks
much.
very
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks again. for
We'll see you
having me.
next month, and we'll schedule something.
Yes, okay. Sounds great.
Right,
Thank you.
great, wonderful. All right, next up, we have Conservation Advisory Council. Our chair, Josh Redinger.
If I can read my handwriting, it's up for debate. Right, so as we spoke of earlier, so we were approved for being a climate smart community. And that's very good because this is a one-time thing, it was a one-time time investment, and now we're just, hoping to be able to get funds for, whatever comes up there, and most funds are gonna be funneled through things like this in the future. So it's good that we did this early, and now we can reprioritize and start shifting towards more immediate concerns in Union Valley, things like land use and actual like tangible conservation instead of just the fun stuff. So outside of that, we worked with Pat Cardellini. We've created an NRI checklist for to be used for any of the new developments. So Pat's got to just cross-check it, but we used a template from, I believe it was Ryan Beckett. It was all pretty good, and we just scrubbed the stuff that didn't really make sense to us, like the waterfront of the Hudson. Yeah. So the CAC is also meeting with other CACs in Dutchess County, and that's going to be next Wednesday. There's a roundtable where they just basically advise where they're at, what they're doing, what they found works and doesn't work. I'm going to do a little 5-minute presentation. Apparently, I found that out about 10 minutes ago.
Oh, God.
So
Great.
Let's see. So at the end of March, we're also going to meet with the DLC, Dutchess Land Conservancy, just as an educational meeting. And we're going to basically find out how we can work in concert to see if we have any overlapping goals. I also had a meeting with wonderful woman from the DEC, and we were discussing something called a habitat map. I'm not sure if anybody's heard of these, but it's not a natural resource inventory, but so a group called Hudsonia has been doing these extremely detailed habitat mappings, and they've been done for most of Dutchess, but they had not been done for Unionville. So I wanted to dig in and find the case for that, and apparently they cost $100,000, so that's a start
How big an area?
for the town.
Oh,
So-
one town? Wow.
But the thing is, they map every square foot and they find the actual ecosystem, basically.
Wow.
Wherever you walk, you're gonna know exactly what you're walking on. And so if your town wants to develop any sort of an open space plan,
Yes.
that would be an extremely helpful thing to have, because
Definitely, yeah.
you know, if you were trying to put something on a piece of garbage or something like the piece of ecologically conserved land.
Yeah,
You know, the main obstacle is that the DEC no longer fully funds these. I guess they stopped that a few years ago, which would kind of correlate with the lack of progression that some of the other towns have had with this. But the towns that have had some progress are finding private donors and nonprofits, and she gave me a list of those organizations. So we're gonna reach out to them, and you know, if they're able to want to sponsor some of the cost of this, because I guess they've done it for multiple other towns, many of these organizations, then we might get additional matching grants from the DEC. So it's a work in progress, but I think it'll be very, very helpful, because we're a very rural town. We have unusual topography, we have unusual wetlands, but we don't exactly know how unusual that they are.
yeah.
It could be very important land to want to someday preserve, or at least understand before
Definitely.
developed.
Yeah, great.
And just one final thing, we're gonna toss together some stuff for the town residents about invasive species before the spring, because it's a terrible problem in the town, and
It's worse every year.
yeah, and it's, you know, I had tried to get a group called Prism to come and help clean up Timor, but it turns out our invasive species are just run-of-the-mill horrible ones and not the new emerging ones, so.
But we still have Mile Vine coming in like crazy.
Yeah, so.
Is that's not emerging, that's an emerging one, isn't it? Or not?
I don't believe it's even classified as that anymore.
Really?
So the only one I think we have is gray willow, which is really just emerging. It's like,
Okay.
competing with pixie willows, so.
The ash borers are not.
No, yeah, they've given up on.
They've done their damage and moved on.
Yep, pretty much.
No more ash.
But anyway, just
Alright.
to hopefully have, so residents know what they are, the invasive species themselves, particularly plants, and if they want to get rid of them, how we can get rid of them. And some of the benefits to getting rid of them.
Did you want to come and present, or are you gonna put something in writing, or how?
We're probably gonna come and do like a brief presentation
Okay.
and then put something
Oh,
more
that'd be
detailed.
very
out.
worthwhile.
That would be really helpful.
Yeah,
So, and something a lot of people don't even know is that, you know, one of the species, Japanese barberry, which is
I was working on
absolutely,
that last week. Nasty
Oh,
stuff.
good.
but it harbors deer ticks at a significantly
does?
higher rate, like 13-fold increase in the
Wow.
number of them, because it creates a microclimate.
So
And
when,
not only are there more deer ticks in there, there's a higher prevalence of them to carry line. Because it's a better environment, so it's actually a public health hazard. And not a lot of people know this, but it's lurking in the backyard, and you know,
It's getting
public
very
health
public.
reasons for this stuff, so. Yeah, we just want to make sure that information is disseminated, because it's unlikely that we could ever do much to remove the stuff in the town without just a large collective effort.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, it's hard to get rid of, yeah.
so when are you gonna do that?
Maybe in April.
So we're thinking April.
Good.
Or May at the latest,
Mhm.
probably shooting for April.
That'd be great,
It's a
because
good thing.
it might even get warm in May, and then people will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, luckily you can kill the stuff all the way through midsummer, so.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. All right, so we'll coordinate on if that
Yeah,
works.
let's do that.
All right, wonderful.
So,
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, very
Really
good. Well,
appreciate
thank
it,
you very much,
Josh.
Wade, for all that.
Yeah, thank you. All right, next up are our departmental reports, and we're gonna start with George Cole.
Did you want to talk about these other items on the agenda?
Well, yeah, what I'm thinking is, if it's okay with the board, we're gonna move up our discussion points.
Sure.
George is really here because of our discussion points, not really to give a departmental report. And then we can cover those bases now, and then we'll circle back to
Yeah.
Mary Jean and the constables and all that stuff. And, oh, Mr. Gosnell. All right, so with George being here, the first thing, we had a couple of things we wanted to talk about. One is 11.2 on the agenda, and then 11.3. All right, now in your packets, what we have under old business
Yeah.
is a lot of information. But what we wanted to start out with tonight, and Jeff Jeff Battistoni is part of this conversation too. We have a couple of problems. One, George has his own code enforcement office problems. He's gonna explain that in a second. We have an incredible littering problem that the town is trying to figure out how to handle. And then tonight, in addition to hearing about the two problems, this is just the beginning of a discussion. We're not finalizing anything here. We're learning, and we're gonna look at some of the information that is already in the code, and then maybe kind of carve out the next steps. But part of that is also to look at the fees and then perhaps make changes in the fees, which just might be easy. But George, when we start, you tell us what are the problems that you're having?
All right, so my biggest, not only in the town of Unionville, but several other municipalities that I've worked with, is trying to enforce the property maintenance code, and give typical definitions for rubbish and debris. And essentially, it's as simple as this. It's sometimes very difficult to enforce or define what rubbish is or what trash is. Like, one person's trash is another person's treasure. So over the past few years, I've had to do some enforcement action, and it's difficult to relate to the court system, even with photos and everything, that it is essentially rubbish and it needs to be removed. So that's essentially the biggest problem. I talked to the attorney about this, about trying to tighten up some of the definitions in our code and possibly adding language where I would be able to enforce that if somebody does feel that they have materials or whatever on their property, that's at the very least it's screened from public view. Typically, if I don't see it personally driving around doing inspections in the town, I will typically get a complaint by surrounding neighbors saying, listen, my neighbors has had this material on his property for the last 6 months, you need to do something about it. So essentially, that is the issue that I'm having with that part of the code. I've had several people in court over the past several months, to the expense of the town, because it was getting involved in a trial and so forth. And it just seems to be, it would be more efficient if I had stronger language in the code that would hopefully convince the residents that you have to do these types of things. So that's essentially it.
So now, Jeff, you looked in at a couple of these, and we were talking on the phone. And I mean, this is a discussion we're having here. So you mind sharing what you found and what maybe might be a.
What I would say in this regard is that some towns have property maintenance codes as part of their town code. And sometimes they limit outdoor storage in front yards and require it to be in a side yard or backyard. Sometimes they require screening, as you just mentioned. So your town can consider adopting something like that.
So what I'd like to be able to do is to work with Jeff and come up with some kind of language that I know it's going to be enforceable. And that's essentially it. That's probably one of the biggest complaints that I get in the town is for whether it's a junk vehicle or whether it's trash and debris or hoarding. So use that word. I guess that's probably the better word.
Oh boy.
Somehow be able to enforce that so I don't get as many complaints and I get compliance.
But it's not just a code thing. It looks like there's a lot of definitions and things in the code. We need to maybe add something new to it.
Is there the ability for George to deem something garbage?
No.
How subjective can you be?
How subjective can you be?
I mean, you're not gonna be able to list everything. I think the issue is not what he deemed it to be, it's what your judge is going to decide it is if it goes to court or enforcement. I think that's the difference.
Kevin, you're correct. It is difficult to put every single language in the code to do it. It's just, again, I'd like to work with Jeff and try to come up with some specific. Amazingly, I did some research with other towns. You figure, okay, you go to Long Island, you think they'd have these real strict, they don't. They don't. So it's a tough thing to do. It is a very tough thing to do. And the last thing I want to do is go through the time and effort of issuing a ticket and then nothing happens. That's an
People apply it mostly or
I think more of it is convincing people why I'm telling them that this is trash or whatever. Most people are compliant, but like anything else, people want to fight you on it and they want to do what they want to do. And I get that.
Well, what about the overlap of running a business at home in an area where they're not supposed to be running a business? And is that cut and dry?
No, it never is. I have to produce, as Jeff knows, a significant amount of evidence. And it's a lot of time and it's a lot of work to produce that evidence to get into court so I have a conviction. It's difficult. And that is another, it's not a big issue here in town, but it has been an issue in the past.
And the other thing, we get complaints because, if you want to sell a house and somebody next door has got all this junk all around the front of their house that most people might think is junk, but they're very fond of personally, it can really hurt. I mean, I know an example of a very nice fellow. He took over 2 years to sell his house and he sold it right when everything was starting to take off. But it took him over 2 years because the people next door nobody wanted to live next door to that.
Why can't we put more language? If it's such a sticky kind of situation with the definitions of it, why can't we put something stronger with the screening itself?
Well, and I talked with Betsy about this. My avenue would be to try to put language in the code that would force people that decide they gotta keep whatever on their property to at least screen it from public view.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
And then how we decide to put that language in there, I don't know. That would help me immensely.
Yeah.
I mean.
That's not hard.
No, we have to adopt something. so
Yeah,
that we
all
can
right,
do
so
that.
I think that's something that everybody,
That might be.
that might be
Yeah.
going to the chase.
Yeah.
Right, they keep their treasure,
That's right. Yeah, like you said.
Keep their treasure.
unless we have your assessment go up with it all.
Yeah, we'll have to see what the assessor says about their treasure.
Right.
There you go. All right, so we can circle back to that one, but it is an important thing. And what the other thing that George gave me tonight that I hadn't known before, we've got a page in here. Do you see the page that has the yellow highlights? It says fees at the top, but it's really all fines.
Yes,
Okay, so this is what we put together. This was mistitled, I apologize, but see the yellow highlights, those are all the fun. And it's for the various code.
violation, yeah.
Andrea, do you mind passing this? Is one for you and for
I didn't see that.
Jeff.
This one here, it's at the bottom.
Here.
Oh, I have it, sorry.
You got it? Okay.
Yes.
All right, so basically, these are the ones we wanted to talk about these tonight because of our littering problem. But then George was telling me in 210, which is our zoning chapter, he often works off of a page that it didn't come up when I was searching for fees, which is 21076, and it talks about a civil penalty of not more than $350 for a first offense, and then it goes $350, not more $700. So I had sent you all a list of things I think we're going to just take George's and add it to. We're just going to have to look at this again. But George's is in zoning that he has been relying on. But we're gonna have to incorporate that. And I'm not sure if that's the right one, just the zoning one, if all these other ones might give you more tools in the toolbox, so to speak. So we'll have to look at it with Jeff. But our littering problem keeps growing. And I have you see these coffee cups up here. So one of our residents called me on Sunday and said, you won't believe, corner of Tompkins and North Club. It's like the people weren't home and they had a party under that bush. Somebody had a party. There were 50 coffee cups, and those coffee cups are not sold at the deli, and they're not sold at the Gulf Station. So the neighbors there, like, what is going on when you come?
It's from Provost.
I don't know.
Okay, well, if you know,
Investigation.
Come on.
yeah.
There's gotta be DNA on there.
Just have it empty. Robust.
DNA might be the way to go, because we are having trouble finding these culprits. So we're gonna have to set up a new camera system there.
Yeah.
It's a small type.
Sting operation.
And we're gonna have to start getting some tickets written. But in the meantime, could you all look at these fees?
Yeah, they are pretty wimpy.
And I know, Jeff, you work with multiple cameras, and what are your thoughts about it? Would you give us some advice here?
Well, I'll say a couple things right now. The New York State Town Law, Article 16, is about zoning and planning and land use. And it has a section 268 for fines and penalties, and that's where that $350 fine comes from for a first offense. Second offense is $350 to $700. Third offense is $700 to $1,000. That comes from state law. But under the municipal home rule law, you have the right to assess a higher penalty or fine if you want. So you can make that change if you want. And in addition, you have other fees throughout your code, which are fairly inconsistent, so I would say it is time to raise these fees. Fines, I should say, excuse me.
Yeah, I mistitled it. Okay, so what we could do as a next step is, get some advice on what, this is a tricky thing. Residents are so upset about littering. And Sue Kilcrease wrote me again, they found a bunch of chairs and stuff over on West Plum Mountain Road again. And yeah, so the highway department ran, or Jake, was that you? I'm not sure if
That was the highway that time.
that's right, you were busy. So the highway department ran over there. I called and I said, we got another load that dropped off. They ran over there and picked it up right away. But so she and Nancy Redkey are out there all the
Good
time.
watchdogs, yeah.
They're great. They email as soon as they find something. So that system's working on that one road. But this thing on Tompkins, there's 3 neighbors over there that are trying to watch it and they will email, but they can't believe it. Like, when does it happen? At night.
Could
it's
be at
fine.
night, yeah.
They don't know, but it's coffee cups. It's so strange. So and then we have all those Smirnoff bottles all around that we talked about. So we have some issues. So nobody wants to pick on residents. And we're assuming these are people that are just driving through town and chucking things as they go, right? Like the Dover people.
You would,
Or we'll pick on the brain. This is under the category of how to win friends and influence people. But I'm sure they're not residents of Unionville is what I'm trying to say. But it is tricky business because you want to stop the chucking out the window.
And these cups and probably those vodka bottles, just 2 separate people,
Yeah.
making a big mess.
Yeah. So we will talk about the cameras again and work with the constables, but in the meantime, I don't know, Jeff, would you recommend, is there any town that that's pretty advanced on fees, or is there any rule of thumb for how you determine fines?
Look at the town of Poughkeepsie, I thought they raised theirs to $1,000
For what?
fine,
Fine.
so the initial fine isn't $350. I think it's
but it needs to be enforceable.
Yeah,
The fines could be anything. We need to be.
Yeah,
able to enforce it.
most times, well, I know other building officials or code officials that do this. We try to make the fine based on the New York State code, because the fines are much more excessive. New York State code. So like if it's a fire code issue, I don't cite it under the town code, I cite it under the fire code of New York State.
oh, very
And
smart.
those are severe.
Wow.
How's littering for New York State?
Yes, why can't we use those terms from the state?
Well, I think when there's a code violation, it's building, plumbing, electric, and there are higher fines there, that's correct. But I think when you're talking about littering or debris, that's a different story.
There's no code, it's just the town.
So
Okay.
just a question, Jeff, if you said we can change the penalty fines
Yes.
Under the section of code, this wouldn't be something that the town board, as they review the fees every year, could do. This has to be done by a local law.
Correct. It's,
Because it's going to court?
you'd have an annual fee schedule about application fees, things like that, but fines are part of the local law.
Want to be clear on that.
Right, it has to be by local law.
We did pull out our building permits and all of those fees. I mean, we pulled out our recreation fee
Right, those are
because,
fees and not fines.
yeah, so anything that goes to the court really is what you're saying. Okay. All right, so we can raise these to almost any level we want. I didn't say what I want.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to double something, see, I'm back to the, how is it, yeah, but how enforceable is it? So it's
Yeah.
supposed to be a detriment, but,
Yeah,
or inhibit bad behavior, but I don't know.
That's 20 people in the league to know what the fine was.
Well, I will tell you that, the process that I have developed in that office and in other towns is that when I give a notice of violation, typically on the bottom of that will say that fines could be instituted up to when I cite this. So if I'm going from,
The zoning section.
yeah,
To
so,
10.
so on the bottom of that notice of violation, if I can go from $350 to say it could possibly be $1,000. It's gonna have more effect, it definitely will, so.
But he's got somebody, at least you're writing to, the people that are littering, which is.
Yeah, I mean, that's out of my, unless I see
Yeah.
somebody throw trash when I'm inspecting.
Put a sign.
We
Yeah.
do have to look at our signs, our
We have-
signs say $500.
Yeah.
If we want
Yeah.
to change that, we're gonna have to change, which is fine, but all over.
Right at the top of the hill where it goes off that edge, right there.
Yeah.
See it.
Yeah, it's usually in the
Yeah.
same area.
So we'll have-
Two eyes on it.
Do you guys want to give this some thought and we'll have a discussion about this next month
All
with
right.
some proposed
Yeah.
numbers? All right. And if anybody has any suggestions, I mean, here's one that's $50. I don't think that's a penalty with recycling. I don't know. It's definitely time to review that stuff. So, all right, you got a lot of code information in there. So if you hang on to that, that'll maybe help enhance what we're trying to do. Next up is short-term rentals.
Oh, yeah.
And, oh, I forgot about the constables. I'm sorry. No, that's, I can. do
No,
that
let me
next.
George's stuff first. Go ahead.
Well, George is the short-term rental, so we are,
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
So now George, if I can quote you, if you don't mind, George recommended a 1-year term for a permit. Just to review, one of the reasons we're doing this is because there's a bill pending in New York. I think it did get a second sponsor. So that's, I was hoping it would, not, but they did get a second sponsor. And it's a Michelle Hinchy's bill on short-term residential rentals. And it's requiring a registry.
With the state.
They want a state registry, but if a municipality has its own registry, then you can avoid having to follow that. And I think it's important for us to try to avoid that because if one of our owners forgets, it's a $200 a day fine to the state every day that they forget to submit something or submit
Wow.
their. So it's pretty punitive.
Sure.
And even we wouldn't be able to get out of doing these another annual report that I'm going to make a list of all the supervisors' annual reports that we have to do or quarterly, whatever, but it would be dumped back on the town again. Another report we'd have to turn in of all of our activity and stuff, but at least our owners wouldn't be part of that. So if we have our own registry, we can set it up in a way that's more conducive to what we want for Unionville, which is to pretty much leave people alone as best we can. So you see the new version of the building department, town of Unionville. We could take this. This is where if somebody, we would require they get a permit. So they'd have to come to this office to get a permit if they want to rent and have we got a really interesting email today. Did you see that? I don't know if you saw the email from the gentleman today. He saw this on the agenda and and I'm not going to read it now because we're not at the public hearing stage or anything, but he really is in support and asks, please don't take short-term rentals away. That's not our intention at all.
Right. Take it away from the state.
Yeah, we got to try to do our own thing rather than be forced to do what they want us to do. So this would be a fillable PDF. They could fill this out and it could feed right into George's office or the clerk's office, whichever we think is whatever will work best. And then the second part of it behind yours on the second page is it's a self-inspection checklist. But it's important because the only thing we worry about is fires and safety and littering. These people not having a place. So our small process here would have to be incorporated into a local law to prove that we have a registry. It would require a permit. George is suggesting 1 year because it works with your system.
Suggesting 1 year, me and Betsy had a discussion about this today. My permits system is set up for 1 year permits. And typically what happens is you get a permit, it comes to expiration date, and typically send out a notice and you renew it.
Yeah.
It's just easier for me to keep track of it. It's a year. I don't care about the fee. You guys decide what the fee is going to be. Then I have this come in and it's renewed every year as long as they're complying with what they got to comply with. And
Well, and tell the other thing, if we made it $100, I thought $200 over 2 years would save them a trip in 1 year. But if your system works 1 year, I think that's fine. But explain, if we have a permitting system, what does that authorize you to do?
well, if I'm issuing an actual permit, it gives me permission to, with notice and inspect the property. If I feel there's an issue, we get a complaint. So that's already set up in the code. So if we do it through the permitting process.
Yeah.
And then whatever the registry number could be the permit number actually.
Right.
It's sort of, everything's in place. It's just a matter of how often you guys want to do this.
Yeah, and I think if we, and Jeff will work with us on a local law supporting this, I sent you a bunch of examples from around the county of local laws. Some of those we can pull from if they're similar, but a couple of those I know are much more stringent than we are. But they might have 80 of these short-term rentals in town. I got the most recent number from the Dutchess County says we have 12. I thought we had 8, but we have, so we're up to 12.
Pulling that from where?
Dutchess County pulls it from Airbnb and those people, Granicus, they have it fed into a system because they have to collect sales tax.
Oh, okay.
So they know how many people are doing Airbnb, or at least the listed short address, whether it's BBRO or whether it's Airbnb.
Well, that's where the state is kind of scary because they are going to find not only the platform, if the platform lets somebody list on there that isn't registered in the state registry, they're gonna charge them 200 or 250 a day till it's cured.
Plus the owner.
Plus the owner.
Wow.
I mean, we just, anyway, the Supervisors and Mayors Association is writing a letter to oppose the bill. But we made some constructive, some things, maybe you could do it this way or do it that way, as long as the local municipalities can be out. So if we do adopt this, I think that'll help us. Again, we haven't seen the final bill.
Yeah.
So I think what we should really do is look at this and maybe look at those bills and work with Jeff. Come up with a few paragraphs that we want to see in our bill. It doesn't have to be extensive now because we might end up adapting down the road. But if we instituted this year, we could be on the list of municipalities that have their own registry. We could announce it, we could follow all the rules, and then we'd have our own, and we'd be in good shape. And there might be a safety feature of this that really saves somebody or something,
This is the one from Long Island, right? From Town
Yeah, it was East Hampton.
East Hampton.
Yeah, we customized something.
Yeah.
George has looked at it.
I'm gonna tweak this probably a little bit.
Yeah, just bring it back and we'll look at it next month. Maybe next month we can have a blank, like a draft of a bill.
Okay.
Okay, and then we'll look at this,
Yeah.
having been tweaked. But if you put both of these on the website, they have to bring it in, they have to get it notarized, they can bring it into Andrea, she can notarize it. But what they're certifying is that they've done all these safety checks. I mean, they're kind of on their own, but then they can go rent and we won't bother them. If you want to add, we talked about parking.
Yeah, one of my concerns is just to make sure that where they're gonna have these, there's adequate parking, just like we do in the accessory apartment or anything else. I told Betsy that I can review that as well. I go into county GIS, see if they have a large parcel, they have plenty of parking. But if it's something tight, and I want to pick on any particular road here, but if it's on the green, you may want to look at that more closely.
Yeah.
Because they're very tight there, so.
So some of their codes though, and Jeff, you can help us with this one, some of them will say 1 car per bedroom. Or 2 cars maximum per house, depending on the square footage, or I don't know that we want to get into that detail.
Some of these other codes that the other towns have will fall in line with it. They're pretty strict.
They're so
They
strict.
all talk about parking. Every one of them talks about parking.
Okay. Well, good to know.
So we need to address it, maybe not that strict, but at least
Yeah.
address it so that,
See, we don't get the phone call, there's a guy next door, he rented a house for 2 weeks
Yeah,
and he's got 15 cars.
Yeah, plus if they live in the road with the plow, it's gotta go through.
Yeah, they gotta know those rules. Yeah, so,
So you want to make sure that the parcel's got enough parking.
Yeah, good point.
all right, so we'll work on a draft. Give some thought to parking. If you have any good ideas, shoot them over. We'll try to, but we'll try to get a draft done. If we want to do more research, it may not be here, okay? We'll do it the following month, but we'll be working on that. All right, does anybody have any other comments or any ideas about that? Okay. George, I think
Can be confused.
you can, it definitely is. Thank you for your patience.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody.
This is important stuff.
All right, good night. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Wait a minute, I gotta get my agenda. I buried it. Do you have an agenda? Let's see, you're saying, what do we do next? We can go to our building.
He kind of knows what it is.
Recreation. Parks, Mr. Gosnell, you want to start? And then we'll wait, you guys get to those department reports because we'll read those real quick after Jake.
I mean, are we just diving into what's on here or?
Whatever you want, right?
Well, I think we need to talk about the field situation.
Yeah, that's what's on here. So I know that we've had conversations in the past about the 2 baseball fields at the bottom of the hill right here. How, I mean, I've been here for 7 years and I don't think I've ever seen a single rental on it in the 7 years that I have been here. We put a lot of effort in the spring to make them look halfway decent. So they're pretty beat at this point, and then as the season goes on, we get pulled in a million different directions. And by the end of the season, they don't look so great. And we're very aware of that. It's the first thing you see when you drive down the hill. So we have had the conversation before of like, hey, if we were to get rid of them, we could make that a nice field and possibly put in, a Gaelic football field, like a bigger soccer field, things like that. So there's just that thought has been kicked around again. of the possibility of taking the baseball fields out. We've had that discussion.
Well, the board, we had that discussion with the board, was 6 months ago, and everybody was very positive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
It's a swamp. It
it is,
needs drainage.
yeah, that's one of the things, is it'll need some drainage work,
Raise the grade.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of
probably,
grace.
I mean, so we,
And Ed had a comment about that, that we had to get somebody with the right equipment, because like, he's got, the GPS coordinates.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we'd have to do it just the right way, so it would, if we wanted to put the Gaelic football, which is just larger, we're
yeah,
hoping
it's-
that we could fit two.
it's significantly larger than a regular soccer field. It's pretty big, but if we were to do that, we were actually, Tom and I were looking at the dimensions today, you could actually fit 2 soccer fields.
With the
Full
Gaelic
size
one?
Soccer fields.
Oh, it's that big?
Oh, yeah.
So that would
Wow.
be cool, like if we were to put a Gaelic field in there, we would also have the space to be able to line it for other things, which is nice. So, it's a little bit more usable, it would look very nice.
We have a renter for the Gaelic field.
We do,
We have a customer.
in the GAA.
Yeah.
I think that, because we had been speaking to a couple of them, and I think there's only 2 or 3 of them in New York State right now. There's only a handful
Full size.
that have full-size Gaelic football pitches,
Oh.
so it would be something kind of neat, No,
So-
You need a big field. Would you be able to fit that if you left one baseball diamond or
Not the way that's.
No, they would have to, the baseball fields would have to go, basically. If we were to do anything with, even a bigger soccer field. Because the field that we have lined out down there now isn't a full-size soccer. There's
But
just,
if somebody wanted to have the, we have that in my house, you got the home plate and the pitcher's mound, or if somebody was gonna have a picnic and they wanted to play on that, you'd have all that equipment and except for the backdrop.
I mean, yeah, or even up top here on the soccer fields up here, there is a backstop up there. Because there used to be a baseball field up there, but instead of taking out the backstop, we left the backstop and everything. So there can be, a grass baseball field or kickball field or something up top as well, if ever needed.
If the residents want that, that would be great.
in the future like baseball? I mean, I know it's not popular here now, but it's an American sport. I mean, it's, I grew up playing it with you. I mean, it's.
Yeah.
It's unusual to go to a park and not see a baseball diamond. So.
Yeah.
There's diamonds at Union Gun Metal like that.
There's diamonds at, I think there's 1 diamond at Union Gun Metal, and then I think one of the things that wound up hurting us with these fields, well, one was a little league field and one is a baseball field. I think what hurt us is LaGrange put in a lot of baseball fields down the road, and that kind of,
Yeah, that was the attraction.
Everybody moved. They used to rent them here.
Plus,
Yeah.
the way it's swamped out now, I'm sure that comes.
Well, yeah, exactly, and as time goes by and things change and stuff, and the water becomes a problem, so.
So this was our plan. So first of all, in talking to Tom Harvey and Ed Kading, both of whom are very knowledgeable, we need a topographical survey. And then, so what we did was, the first thing we did was we called the town resident, Bob Oswald, to see if he'd be interested or could give us some direction. We're trying to put together some pro formas on what the cost would be for something like this. So we wanted experts. We called him and asked him, and he immediately said, I'll be there in 10 minutes because I'm driving by anyway, and I will donate the topographical survey to the town of Unionville. I'll do it for you, which is really lovely. So he said, I'm happy to do it. He brought one of his guys over, and I met him over there because it was Friday when you were here, Jake's regular day off. And he's going to come back. Well, then the snow hit, but they're going to come back and they're going to start that process. He wants to donate that. If we end up with a new soccer field, he goes, would you donate it to the soccer field for me? So that was a really good thing. But step 1 is that survey. And then 2 is Tom Harvey.
It's Tom Harvey and, and basically putting a plan together for us for drainage and for, whatever would have to be done, whether we probably have to bring in some fill and shift some things around and things like that. So that way we could at least have an idea of the scope of work,
Sure.
and how crazy we would have to go with the drainage excavation.
So we won't really know. I mean, you guys are really good at this stuff. And so we're counting on all your good, your history and your knowledge, but it sounds like because of Bob Oswald's generosity, we can get a topographical survey. And then Tom Harvey said, he goes, an engineering design, they just finished a school. And he said it's between $5,000 and $10,000, but he said it's probably closer to 5 because that setup down there. So there would be a cost there for the engineer, and then we can stop, look at the design of this is what I'd suggest. We need to know what it would cost. We need to know how extensive that drainage is before we can make any decisions. It scares me to think it might be a lot more than I'm thinking, because I don't know these things as well as you guys, but if it ends up being a huge dollar amount, that would make me nervous. So maybe we could agree to look at the design.
Yeah, that's it. Have we measured that? Is there enough room down there for the size field that?
There is,
There is.
I mean, yes,
Does that take away anything from the parking lot? Does it have to go?
no,
No?
no, there's a building in the parking lot.
Yeah, there's enough room.
I mean, yeah, there's the maintenance building.
Yes,
And it would still be
within there.
yeah,
Okay.
And we were kind of hoping to get 2. We were kind of hoping to get that really big oversized one and then maybe a junior one. And, and because they just move their goals around. I mean, anybody can use it and they can have 2 size, when they're not renting it,
Oh, good.
So there's a lot of opportunity, but I'm really anxious to see how much it might cost because it's a big space and maybe the draining.
Throw in a number and we'll tell you if you're for.
So you already
Well,
know.
a lot depends on how much fill,
I knew it.
how much fill and how much drainage.
It's gonna be, so why don't we take it a step at a time so nobody gets nervous and
Yeah.
go for the survey. Thank you, Bob Oswald, and Mr. Harvey can you know what, I think we could vote on that unless it's in the budget or something. Let's get Tom to come over and give us a proposal and then we can vote on it and just stop there and kind of weigh it out. Sound good? All right. Thank you, sir. All right, we're gonna move on to recreation. Do you have that one or do you want one of the board members to read that?
oh, I don't.
All right, does anybody have recreation? Would anybody like to read that? And then, I don't have a comfortable one.
I have a conflict. I don't know.
Here's the council one.
No, I'm not gonna read it. Oh, no, that's the code.
I didn't know if there was a written one. I thought we were just gonna talk about the, where are we?
Well, she sent in a summer camp, an update on registration.
I don't know.
All right, I'll read recreation. Summer camp registration is filled up quickly this past month. Traditional camp is with few seats left in kids camp and the teen leadership camp. We are excited to meet old and new friends this upcoming summer. They've done a really good job. It's almost 100% full. Last Friday, we enjoyed our, thank goodness there's time more, full day St. Patrick's Day party. Students K through 5 enjoyed time outside on our trails and playground equipment, as well as themed games and activities with friends. We are gearing up for our spring break, full TGTT days, and registration is on the Parks and Recreation website. Last month, we had an amazing turnout for our paint and sip event. It was full, it was 30. Patrons were able to exercise their creative skills and follow along with our instructor, all while enjoying a relaxing time with friends and family. We thank everyone who came out to the paint and sip while enjoying the evening. There's going to be a spring paint and sip set on April 21st. We will be offering an adult, all of this is on the website and it goes out on emails. We will be offering an adult baking workshop on March 25th at 11 a.m. So a culinary graduate is going to come teach everybody how to decorate, specializing in frosting and decorating basics. Patrons can register to observe how to make buttercream frosting and use various tools to decorate baked goods. The workshop will be led by a Culinary Institute of America baking and pastry alum. Registration and information on the website as well. Mary Jean Calvi, our animal control report. She didn't mention the rabid fox, which never got found, but do you have that one? Do you want to read that one?
I don't have that. I have a constable.
Oh, would you read that?
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Constables patrolled approximately 505 miles of town roads, including all properties, filling the Explorer with 18.8 gallons of gasoline. The 3 town court dates total 38 cases on the dockets, with 16 actual appearances. 7 cases pleaded not guilty by mail, and 3 cases were dismissed for failure to prosecute. Parentheses, officer did not show report. There were no issues to report. Constables had no issues to report during the daily patrols this month. Respectfully submitted, George Treadwell.
Great. I hope we could get him the right littering tickets. Yes, sir.
Can I add one thing to the rec report?
Sure.
Our trail race series is fully live on the website.
It's all, oh, yeah?
We have our first person registered and she registered for all 4 races.
Oh,
which
wow.
means you will be getting a
Yeah.
free t-shirt. So I really hope we get a lot of people that come out and sign up, and
Good.
it's gonna be really awesome.
So where is that flyer? Is that, has department put it out? I mean,
Yeah,
direct-
it's on Instagram, it's on Facebook, it's all over the place. You can also link to it, I believe, through this, besides for Instagram and Facebook, I believe Steph found a way to put it on my rec as well as a link. So you can link to the
Yeah.
sign up
Great.
right through there. So yeah, that's really, really exciting.
You all have this calendar that you
Mhm.
get sent when we update it and all that. It's kind of, we need it. It's not really an external one because it's very crowded, but they're all on here.
It's very,
And the first one is after the
It is-
Angels of Light.
It's after.
It
It's
doesn't
a month
compete.
after. Yep.
Yeah, it starts a month later. So people that want to be outdoors, we didn't want to compete with that.
yeah, that could be a warm up, the Angelos of life on.
There it is.
Yeah. Oh, you found it, yeah.
No, very good.
Yeah, come out and run through the park and enjoy the park. We really need.
Yeah,
Well, when she has her 100 people at hers, you can pass out flyers, say, okay, next month, come on back.
Clever.
All right, so, thank you. Do we have, animal
Animal
control?
report?
Yeah,
Okay. Animal control report, February 2023. During the month of February, there were 2 loose dogs, 1 mutual aid assistant in the neighboring town. That's all reported from Jean
Mary Jean.
Calvin, Mary Jean Calvin.
she omitted the whole thing about the fox. Did you guys?
Yeah.
read
Yeah,
that?
I saw-
Never turns up.
Yeah,
Like the chatter.
I wonder how the
Yeah,
guy,
for a couple of
guy's
days.
doing, do you know?
He's dead by now.
Yeah, they
No,
all
no,
live.
no.
Oh, did you? Well, it
They
is,
only live
it
a
is
few
late.
days once they
Yeah.
have rabies.
Oh, really?
Once they're at that point.
Yeah. So it's dead.
he's,
The fox.
I thought you were talking about the fox.
No, I didn't care about the fox.
The fox is, but we had calls, we had sightings, and one young kid told his mom that he saw a fox and it looked stone.
Oh, God.
So we thought, okay, Mary Jean.
How did the kid know?
Yeah, and he had fields around.
Yeah. So Mary Jean was on the hot trail trying to see it because we had a DEC person online who'd come over and bag it. They're the only ones qualified. But anyway, we never caught it, unfortunately. So anyway, next up would be our old business.
Wait, are we gonna talk about the rec stuff?
You mean the people?
Yeah.
Summer camp, full wages.
Oh, you know what? I put that in the back of my notebook for the budget area. So we can bring that up front. Sorry, hold on. I just put it in a different order. So explain this to the board. So basically, we do the budget. We started with the department heads. As I meet with them in August to start pulling in all their ideas about what they
Yeah.
need and all that. And Allison had left last year. If you remember, her husband was gonna go out and become a border patrol agent. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
So she put in her, she was gone. So Maggie assumed her role. Maggie didn't know some of the things, the intricacies that Allison, who was an aquatics expert, knew. So bottom line is this, I would like to, we're not asking for a budget amendment because I think it's premature, but I want to make changes. And every year, this is the schedule of salaries on the back of the reorg meeting.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm sorry. Kevin's looking at me squinting and I'm like, I thought I
I
could.
got it.
Oh, okay, sorry. All right, so
Dig.
this is the back page for the reorg meeting. We always put salaries, it's required actually. So what we noticed was, and Maggie has a few of her own ideas, which I think are really important to incorporate because she's run that camp last year and a couple of years now with Allison. So I wanted to amend the Schedule A in the 2023 salaries page of the reorg meeting. And I want to see at the bottom of page 27, director from aquatics. I want to add same dollar amount to the right, but I want to do a slash and put also an assistant director. She has a director and an assistant director, which is not on here. And then the next one down, see where it says counselor? I want to add a slash that says head counselor. Okay. And then I'm going to come back to the numbers in a minute. And next to lifeguard, we want to add swim instructors. All right, because the swim instructors have a little more training, they tend to get paid a little more.
Okay.
And on the back, we have a recreation leader, but we want to change, and I'll start with the back. So on the recreation leader, we found that and with several of these categories, especially with the lifeguards, Do you remember last year, those articles in the paper about lifeguards? and all that? Okay, so what happened was with a lot of these young people, after this was done and we all thought it was fine. Due to the inflation factor and all that, these people are not gonna be able to adhere to the wages that we agreed to and have in here. We always have a range. Some of them, our top of the range is might be, it's a little off. So the ones that we want to change, I gave you the wording changes where we just want to add assistant director, head counselor, and swim instructor. But starting on the back, and then we'll flip to the recreation leader, the range there is 14 to 16. And we want $16.50.
Flat.
Flat, $16.50.
Okay.
Okay, we want to change that to $16.50. Now there's more changes on the front. There's 3 different ones. So starting from the bottom, if we go lifeguard to swim instructors, you notice our range was $12 to $16.
Correct, yeah.
It was really low. So we lost a couple of people in this interviewing process because of this is a public document and that's a scary range. So basically, though, and I think that Maggie feels like she's comfortable with a lifeguard at 16, which is in the range, but she's got the swim instructors always get a little bit more. So she she feels she needs, and I know with all the press and everything, she's absolutely right, $16.50. So I just got rid of the 12 because that looks bad, actually. 15 to $16.50, then go up one bump from food service helper, go to $14.50 in the top range, because we have somebody who was there last year at 14 and she's going to be making $14.25, but this gives us a little wiggle room if somebody else comes on board and has experience. The head counselor in the camps, we have they're actually different titles under civil service, but we want to go from 13 to $16.50. That needs a change because that is just, we've got to be competitive. The average range they're offering for the traditional counselor is $14.50, but there's a head counselor that we need the top end of the range for. That's the $16.50, and that's somebody who's a rec leader who's been here for a long time. So we're bumping it up. Now, what's the end result of that? The end result is that in the pool budget is $11,000 more based on if we fully load it with all these new salaries in this number. And then the counselor budget is $8,000 less because of the timing when everything gets scheduled out. So we'll have a difference of about 3,000. So I don't want to do a modification of the budget at this point. What I'd like to do is make a motion that we accept these changes. Right now, it looks like if we could be 3,000 less, we have a contingent fund that could cover that. And if we find as we go along that we're getting close, we'll know in the middle of the summer, people work less or whatever happens. And then we can do a budget modification then and just transfer $3,000.
Yeah, especially if it's a rainy summer.
Yeah, if it's a rainy summer, we don't use it. We might not ever spend that 3,000. Right? So that makes sense to everybody. So it's too soon to change the budget. These are tight. These are the calendar, this is how tightly it's been. This is how tightly the scheduling was done to make sure that our numbers are right. Okay, so that's why I can tell you that so we might be in the whole $3 grand because they don't do overtime. They've been managing real well. We changed all those rules and it's been a great, well-managed program, but we don't do overtime unless there's an emergency. All right, so may I make a motion that you accept those changes to Schedule A 2023 salary page as just communicated, and then we'll fix this typed page to the minutes of the meeting.
Okay, I'll make a motion.
Would you?
All right, make the motion. We accept the
So
discuss
moved.
changes on Schedule A.
Second.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? All right, that motion carries and we really appreciate that. Okay,
Didn't you get we got a couple of complaints last year, right?
Thanks, Jake.
On that?
yes,
Right?
well, yes, we did get complaints that our salaries were too
Thought they
low.
were too low.
Yeah. Hey, Jake, thank you. All right, talk to your mom.
I don't know. Person at 1650, they can make a mention on the yacht now.
Yeah, so it's been, the wages have to come up in this scenario, in this
And you
atmosphere.
know what? And we need people to work there.
Yeah, we're lucky that people like coming to Time Warner, but at the end of the day, they gotta put gas in the car. So
Yeah.
anyway, thank you very much. That would be very much appreciated. All right, so now we'll go back to our old business discussion. If you can go back to old business. And we are starting with our firefighters. Okay, I wanted this to be in the record. I apologize for not mentioning it on the, during the public hearing at 7 o'clock. This is a short and sweet. Do you know Jake Jakuba?
Yeah.
He wrote today, I am on board with the 10% discount for volunteer emergency workers. For the record.
Okay.
Okay, so, we have a discussion, the idea that the reason this is on the discussion is if you made a nice comment before that wasn't taped, and it'd be nice for people to know the intent, we talked about the intent of the bill, and it's to recruit and retain, but if you want to repeat your comment, at least it'll get recorded.
All right, I just wanted to say that I'm glad the state is focusing on first responders and has done something at the town and other municipalities' expense to encourage volunteer in the area of fire and ambulance service.
Yeah, we have a really good volunteer fire department.
Yeah.
So, okay, so unless there's further discussion about that, we can keep going through to the master fee schedule because we can do all the resolutions at one time. The residency requirements for constables. So we discussed that this week. That's at the end of your packet with all the code stuff. Chapter 12 in here, you mix in with all your code. You're saving all this paper. We're not printing it anymore. So this has, as Jeff Battistoni and I spoke this week, that 12.3, it says town, in accordance with town law and public officers law, a constable shall be a citizen of the United States and an elector of the town of Unionville. They do serve at the pleasure of the board and all that. So Jeff's recommendation, I mean, we'd have to eliminate the elector of Unionville.
I thought it stated there that it had to be a resident of Unionville. I thought it said it in one of those sections in chapter 12.
That's what we're trying to change.
Right, it would change that. And I would also change in chapter 69, which generally deals with residency as well.
And it's the 69.2, which you guys have. You have that.
Reference clause that they could be.
Right.
Yeah.
We were going
So
to
they get
use the
special
sentence.
attention.
Yeah, we were going to use the sentence from the deputy town clerk.
Yes.
So, but that would need to come out just to enhance the, to have a bigger pool. And we've discussed that before. And then 69.2. Oh, this is follows along with the code enforcement officer. When we took the code enforcement officer requirement from being a resident, we could follow that along or add code enforcement add constables to the similar language here.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So if that's,
Is there anything else we should add now?
Yeah.
We've amended this a few times to some degree, right?
well, over the years, the code enforcement officer to this one was done years ago. We wanted to do the planning board thing because we had the woman that had part of her property in
Yes.
Unionville Park. And then because people were worried about that, we wanted to revisit that language so they would we could button up the things that they were concerned about. We have never gotten back to that because we got somebody to sit on the board, Anita.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so it's no longer time sensitive. It was time sensitive then.
Yeah.
But with Anita, we're fine. So we've got more time on that one. Are there any others that you're concerned about?
Well, like what Kevin just said, maybe a special consideration for a Unionville resident. You're comparing apples to apples and. Yeah. Well, it's a Unionville resident, then.
Well, that's not what I meant by my question. That we've already got covered because we use that language to the deputy town
So we
clerk.
did put that in there.
For the
right?
deputy
Yeah,
town
okay.
clerk.
All right.
So Jeff is going to use similar language as we work through this
Constables.
local law for the constable. It just shows if
Yeah,
there are
yeah,
people
it's
It's a
standing.
broader reach for
Yeah.
candidates.
Yeah, but it does take that requirement out. But it will say what it says there. But I thought you meant, was there another job category?
Right, so I was asking,
Yes.
is there another job that we're not identifying that
Is there any other jobs that require it to be-
that requirement is applied to now? And maybe we should get rid of it while we're here. Because we've done it.
I can't think of
a
any-
few separate.
It's all the boards. It's just the boards.
Yeah, okay.
And I think the planning board one needs to be worked out because there are a couple people, remember Louise Zhang didn't understand what an elector was and
Yeah.
why that, and they were worried about a couple of things. So we
Yeah.
have to work on that one.
Yeah.
And since we've got time
I'm just
on
throwing
our
it out
hands.
there.
No, you're right. I just can't.
It's where.
Anybody else? You have any other jobs that are required?
Just go right down, right down the offices right here.
Yeah, I can't think of
Nothing
any.
else. Okay.
Good question, though. I don't, of
Mhm.
course, next month, it's somebody, oh. All right, well, you're right. But before we actually submit this for printing, if there is another one, we'll come up.
All right.
All right, next up, master fee schedule. Now, did you guys have this in your package, right? Here you go, right there. All right, now, it didn't print. I don't know why it didn't print, so I had to do mine in a highlight. So last time we met, we changed the camp programs by $5. Remember that?
Yes.
Okay, so this time we have these changes on page. These changes here, which would be on the back side of page 1.
Yeah.
All right, let me read them to you. These are pool passes. They wanted, the staff is recommending we go up $25. So, the staff recommends for a family up to 5 for non-residents to go from $275 to $300. And the family up to 6 to go from $350 to $375. That's right here. These are just for the 2 non-resident categories. Okay. $25 each. And then at the bottom here, we changed the recreation fee from the planning board, for subdivisions and that sort of thing.
Yes.
So now this language matches what our new code says, which is per residential lot. It said per lot before, but that. So there's a recreation fee, and there's more really good language in our new, when we've made the zoning changes, there's good language about that fee. So if there was a commercial building and they had an apartment upstairs, it would still apply.
Yes.
Per residential lot or dwelling unit. So any residential lot or dwelling unit would be hit with this fee,
Yes.
which is designed to help us maintain Timemore Park and Godfrey.
Capital improvements.
Yeah. Okay. And those are the last of the changes. Now, I will say we're going to have to revisit this if we change the fees. Now, Jeff is saying that for littering, dumping, and debris, if they're town, we don't need fees on a master fee schedule for those. Is that correct? Because that has to be in the code?
Those are
Fines, not fees.
Fees,
Yeah.
yeah, I would take them out of there.
Okay, so we don't, then we're finished with our changes. The only other, I can't think of anything else this year that we were going to change. All right?
Yeah.
Well, you did ask. I did come up with some
What you got?
some numbers from adjoining towns. For some
Oh,
of their
this was
fees.
rentals.
Yeah, for rental, but that would have
Yes.
been
Oh, that's good.
something equated onto this. So it's kind of hard to go on some of their sites and really pull up some real numbers. You have to email and get quotes and stuff, but
Can I,
those are
can
some,
I?
yeah, yeah, those are things.
We'll look
Yeah,
at it with the
'cause we
staff.
could apply that to this.
So what we could do, we could approve this tonight so that they're instituting the news, and then this is this is complicated only because of.
I know.
So this is great.
It's all set up
That's great.
different for each town.
Yeah,
Oh, very
this will
good.
be helpful with the
Yeah.
staff meeting.
Okay.
All right, so we can vote on this, so it would be out there. We can put it on the website, we can use it. And then we can come back and
Mhm.
revisit,
Yeah.
and then it might. I mean, we have 2 regular customers that rent things, so, it's gonna be really interesting to see how we compare.
Mhm.
This is great, thanks. All right, would anybody like to make a motion that we accept the, master fee schedule as drafted for tonight, with tonight's changes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion about that? All right, everybody in favor of accepting this particular version with the upgraded highlights in yellow?
Yes.
Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No? All right, motion carries. I'll give this to you tomorrow. Let's have a couple of changes today. Okay? All right.
Let's put this with that. Good, here's.
Oh, good.
we'll
Need a
print it out.
paperclip?
Yeah.
Good. Even better. Thank you. I knew this was gonna be a long meeting. I apologize. I knew that the residents were so excited and we had a lot of presentations. All right, next up on our agenda, we have our, we've done 11-3, 4, 5. I'm not worried about 11-6. We can pass. I can send that out on the email now. It's just some people want to be on. We have 3 people that signed up. I'm pulling together an advisory committee for how we want to use the rental property after the road is done.
Oh,
Do they want to have a garden there? A nice lady came in to see me today who said she's might want to join the advisory committee to maybe represent having a section of it as a dog park. Remember, we had those conversations last year? So that nice lady can join the committee and represent that. So one day we'll be sharing ideas from another group and deciding
Okay,
what we
yeah,
want, or garden, whatever. All right, so we'll come back to them. All right, so that'll be it for old business. So far as new business. So in new business, we can, because we're going to resolutions next. Two things. Unionville parcel 812049, improper foreclosure by Dutchess County. What next steps? That has been a pretty gut wrenching issue for the family that was associated with this foreclosure, and then later for the town, because the town wasn't given any notice. No municipality was given any notice. So where we are with this is we have a resolution tonight. And what we want to do is we want a determination as to whether or not the county acted, but they didn't follow their own rules. So they did do something wrong. And so but I just so everybody understands, after talking to the family, there were several members of the family that have been intimately involved with this, and they actually told me and you about this foreclosure. We weren't even aware of it because no town had been notified. And it was listed wrong in the book. There was nothing in Union.
It wasn't listed in the book. Yeah, it was listed as Beekman.
Beekman and Beekman rear, and it was a big shock. But then the family members came to me and said, I think it would have been a lot better, at least if that became part of timeline. So in circling back with them, I said, all right, we talked to the county attorney several times. There's nothing we can do for the family. You guys aren't going to rally, and they decided they weren't for their personal family reasons. And they asked us if we would take over. So the ones that I hadn't spoken to, I called them again this week and said, this is the plan. And they said, go. That would be great if you could get that as time mark. I don't know the outcome, but I did speak with our new county executive, Bill O'Neill. And I said that the county had really made a big mistake not notifying any municipalities, which is inconsistent with their own rules. And could he fix that? And that's oversimplifying it. Can you fix it? And he said, I don't care about the family, and I don't care about the town. And he wasn't trying to be callous. His point was, we made a mistake. If you want to get it fixed, you're welcome to, file an Article 78. I am not doing anything. That's not a quote, but that's definitely his body language. He said, and I'm not making light of the situation. I just said, wait a minute, you guys fixed it. Can't you just fix it? You broke. He goes, it was one small little mistake. And I said, it was the only mistake that counts. Right. But I think the position that the county is in, not the county, but that department that made the mistake, in their defense, it's like, if you get some judge to tell us what to do, we will salute him and do whatever he tells us. But other than that, we are not going to do anything. So you guys go and deal with it. I said, okay. So that was their position, and I can understand that but there are a lot of people that feel strongly about this. So that's where we are.
Yeah.
All right, we can talk about that resolution. We get there. Oh, the rental lease for 11 Timewell Park Road. I emailed that to you fellas, to you gentlemen. Would you, if the situation comes up that we might want to tweak that in a way or two to mirror somebody who's interested. So just if you would familiarize yourself with it, so then you know what's in there when we sit down to talk about it. You might want to say, put this extra sentence in or whatever. Jeff's an expert at this, so he'll guide us. But you actually wrote this last one, Jeff. So anyway, just know that that's coming. Okay. That's it for new business. I would say now we should go to our resolutions. First up is 13.3. My left, Councilman Wells, would you like to read 13.3, which is, it's not the resolution. The resolution is number 5.
Number 5, okay.
I was reading the bullet point.
Yeah. Okay. Resolution creating real property tax exemption for volunteer firefighters and volunteer ambulance workers. Whereas New York State Real Property Tax Law, Section 466-A, authorizes municipalities to create a real property tax exemption for volunteer firefighters and volunteer ambulance workers to the extent of 10% of the assessed value of such volunteers' primary residence and within the municipality. And whereas said exemption may be created by local law, ordinance, or resolution after a public hearing. Whereas the town of Unionville Town Board intends to create such exemption within the limits required by the RPIL section 466-A, and whereas a duly noticed public hearing was held to address this issue on March 15, 2023 at 7 p.m. prevailing time at the Unionville Town Hall. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby classifies this action as a type 2 action for CEQA proposes pursuant to 6 NYC RR 617.5, chapter 26, and any other applicable subsection, and be further resolved that the town board hereby creates and provides for a real property tax exemption of 10% the assessed value of the primary residence within the town of Unionville for a volunteer firefighter or volunteer ambulance worker who is an owner of said real property and is enrolled member or an incorporated volunteer fire company, fire district, or incorporated volunteer ambulance service that that serves the town of Unionville, provided that such volunteer has a minimum of 2 years of such service, and be it further resolved, the assessor may rely upon a list provided by the town board, provided to the town board on or before January 31st of each year by the Board of Fire Commissioners annually, which certifies such volunteers' active enrollment and length of service in order to qualify for this exemption annually. And be it further resolved that the said real property must be used exclusively for residential purposes, and the event that any portion of such real property is not used exclusively for the applicant's residence, but is used for other purposes, such as a portion shall be subject to such sub portion shall be subject to taxation, and the remaining portion only shall be entitled to the exemption provided by this resolution. And be it further resolved that any such enrolled member who accrues more than 20 years of active service and is so certified by the authority having jurisdiction of the incorporated volunteer fire company, fire district, or fire or incorporated volunteer ambulance service shall be granted this 10% exemption as authorized by this resolution for the remainder of his or her life, as long as his primary residence is located within the town of Unionville. And further, that this exemption shall continue for the unremaining surviving spouse of such volunteer.
Thank you for offering that resolution. Is there a second?
I'll second that resolution.
Great, thank you. Any discussion?
No?
No discussion. Okay, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Aye.
I'd like to abstain as I'm a member of the guard department and could, have financial gain if this is approved, but I do, however, feel that it's a great idea to get new members and keep new members.
Great,
Great.
okay, we understand. Thank you. Councilman Gustikov?
Aye.
Oh, you're calling. Would you call?
It's getting
All
late.
right, your turn.
Councilman Gustikov.
Aye.
Councilman Welch.
Aye.
Supervisor Mons.
Aye. All right, that's excellent. Resolution number 5 of 2023 passes. One abstention for a very good reason. Next up is resolution 6. Anybody want to take that one? Councilman Durley?
Regarding resolution number 6 of 2023, regarding authorization to commence and prosecute litigation to obtain ownership of certain premises described in this resolution, and to retain counsel to represent the town in the litigation. Whereas the town of Unionville Town Board heretofore adopted resolution number 2 of 2023 on January 25th of 2023, requesting Dutchess County to transfer the property described below to the town of Unionville. And whereas Dutchess County has not taken the action requested by the town of Unionville to nullify or otherwise cancel the sale of certain premises located in the town of Unionville, which are the subject of resolution 2-2023. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board authorizes the commencement and prosecution of litigation by the town to invalidate or nullify the portion of a certain deed dated December 8th, 2022 from Dutchess County to Joanne Bonavina, the portion located in the town of Unionville with tax grid 135-400-660, or excuse me, 6660-00-812049-000, also known as the property. Be it further resolved that the litigation seeks a determination to require Dutchess County to transfer to the town of Unionville the property in exchange for payment by the town of tax arrearages and related fees and charges, and be it further resolved, the town board of the town of Unionville retains the firm of Tian and Constantino LLP to represent the town of Unionville in the aforesaid action, and authorizes the firm of Tian and Constantino LLP to take all necessary or reasonable steps to require Dutchess County to transfer the property to the town. And be it further resolved that the town board of the town of Unionville authorizes payment to the firm Tian and Constantino LLP at the town's regular legal hourly rate, together with reimbursements for disbursements. And be it further resolved that the town has available funds unallocated fund balance sufficient to make payment to Dutchess County of the tax arrearages, related fees and charges. Be it further resolved that it is the intention of the town to use the property upon requiring it for a public purpose to expand the public park, Timor Park, which abuts the property on the east.
Thank you for offering that resolution. Is there a second?
I will second it.
Okay, discussion? Well, I do want to add some information. So, first of all, this, I don't think, it doesn't sound like it's a very complicated, process, but I think as the county feels like if somebody tells them to do it, they'll do it. In other words, they're frozen. They feel like,
Yeah,
so I think that the firm that we're hiring was generous enough and gracious enough, I should say, because they're friends of the Vandewater firm. Since our other attorney from Vandewater is related to the county attorney, so they couldn't be involved with this. So we're hiring a separate firm. They're honoring the same rate that we paid, the municipal rate. So that's good. And then I did want to say, we were talking about this on the telephone. So we had been doing some work with Jeff Battistoni on this before we decided that we were pretty much told by that other attorney that unless we proceed, well, and Bill O'Neill, unless we proceeded with something, it wasn't going anywhere. So at that point, Vandewater said that we can't deal, we can't work with you and we can't represent you. And the gracious thing about them is they sent back $850 on a bill that we had paid for Jeff's work previously. But now, since we're working with this term and they were going in this direction because there's a conflict with Jim's relative being the county attorney, he gave us back $850. So I just want to say thank you and make sure, in full disclosure, that it was a very generous thing to do because you put in the time. But so we're going to watch our pennies on this one. It's not that complicated, is my thought. So, anybody else? Any other discussion about it?
I think it's good we're pursuing this because I think the county made two mistakes on this. They didn't list it in the catalog. They didn't notify us as their policy states they should have.
Right. Right.
I agree with that sentiment.
Yeah. And 5 years from now, people are going to wonder were those people asleep at the wheel, is my view. Like, what were they
You got to
thinking?
follow the process.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah. So, and we might learn that there is something about that Article 11, I think, in the real property tax law, something that protects, I don't know, but we'll find out. So it's a good thing to know at the end of the day that we can tell people that we tried, including the family members that have been in touch with us. So,
Yeah.
all right, there's no other comment, any other discussion? Roll call vote, please. Councilman Burley,
Aye.
Councilman McGivney,
Aye.
Councilman Bassicroft,
Aye.
Councilman Welch,
Aye.
Supervisor Mons. Aye. Okay. Thank you very much. And then the last resolution, number 7.
Three.
Wanna read that? Okay, thank you.
Resolution to approve encumbering funds to pay for New York Park for new park truck and snowplow approved last April 2022. Whereas the town board of Unionville authorizes the Parks Department to purchase a new pickup truck after getting a confirmed quote from the New York State Office of the General Services and the snowplow after getting confirmed both from Trailer King and Poughkeepsie, New York. Whereas the Parks Department ordered the truck at a cost of $40,897.02 and the snowplow at the cost of $8,695 on April 21st, 2022. And whereas in 2022, the Parks Department spent $0 of the $49,592.02 amount approved for both pieces of equipment due to the delay in delivery of the truck from an expected delivery date of September 2022 to an actual delivery date of February of 2023. Now therefore to be resolved that the town of Unionville 2023 budget shall be amended to provide the encumbrances rolled forward in order to provide the funding and aforementioned projects. Funds A7110 at 40,897.02 and A7110 8695. Be it further resolved, the amounts of these individual encumbrances provided for above are the general fund and will be transferred to the parks budget as originally approved for the specific purpose.
Thank you for offering that resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? So just so everybody understands, I know, some people don't, because of the delay of that truck, what happened, at the end of the year, we're closing the books, as I said, for 2022 now. And at the end of the year, anything that wasn't spent just goes into the general fund. And then the parks budget is gonna look really short because this this is in 2023, this
Right,
expenditure,
yeah.
so we're just bringing that money
Moving
over.
it over.
Yeah, so just so it's clear.
Keep the budget good.
Yeah, it keeps the budget good and it's a good trail. So with that being said, is there any other discussion? All right, may I have a roll call vote, please? Councilman Barrett?
Aye.
Councilman McGivney?
Aye.
Councilman Gussie?
Aye.
Councilman Welch?
Aye.
Supervisor Jones? Aye. Wonderful. Okay, resolution number 7 of 2023 passes. Thank you for that. That helps our books completely. And that is actually all we have in resolutions. May I have a motion to approve pay the bills, we don't have any transfer warrants. Or anything.
So moved.
Pay the bills. Thank you, Councilman. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye to paying the bills.
Aye.
Any public comment on town issues?
Just thinking about half sleep, but besides that, Stockbridge Park, you gotta think about the baseball field out there too. What to do with it? It's either gotta be maintained or something, it's just weeds.
Okay. Does that have a drainage issue by chance? Is it underwater ever, or is it more?
No, it doesn't.
Okay,
I mean, I think it was used twice last year, at the early part of the season. And I don't know if the town is maintaining that or
Yeah.
not, but it's really full of weeds right now.
right now.
I
Okay,
don't even know if we used it, but we used by some weed a couple of times in the beginning of the season.
yeah. Well, I'll talk to Jake about it tomorrow, and when
Yeah.
the spring comes, it usually does, they don't do much with it over the winter, but in the
Yeah,
springtime, they
yeah.
come over and they clean it, they do all that then.
Yeah.
All right, I've got it on the list. Thank you, Sharon. Okay, if there aren't any other comments, we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Well, that was a long, productive meeting. Be right back, you guys. Hang on one second.
This probably is nice rock.